Good morning. It's Sunday morning, and already I have full-blown AIDS sitting here watching mainstream media. Good morning, Belushi. Good morning. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's just get into it. Let me do like a sound check first. Make sure that. Okay, I need to do some sound checking on the intro in the morning. That came through so hot. That was so aggressive. Okay. Okay, I don't think my voice sounds too hot on the restream. So let's get into it. What the hell are these people talking about already? Let's find out.
In 2016 and especially in 2020, we saw in Wisconsin. Let's keep those numbers up. We saw, or take them down, TJ. Either way, can we have an AI director? I think if we get an AI TJ, I think Google can do that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, if you look at Wisconsin, there's a state right now. Kamala Harris, if do you believe these polls, is up 6 points in Wisconsin. There were polls that showed Joe Biden up by 12, 13, 14. I think an ABC poll.
Okay, they're going over polls right now. All right, thank you, Belushi. Thank you. So they're going over polls right now. Prior to this, Morning Joe was talking about how crazy Donald Trump is. They were saying he's not like any other candidate. It's like we just, it's really hard to place Kamala Harris and Donald Trump on the same stage because Kamala Harris is like a traditional candidate and Donald Trump is not. And he says the craziest things and stuff like that. And I'm standing out on the deck listening on my headset. I'm like, well, why don't you ever let us hear it? Like, why don't you ever play the sound bites? Why do you only like pick and choose like these little sound bites, And I'm like, if we went by the mainstream media's depiction of how often Donald Trump speaks, it would probably only be a few minutes at most over any given month. Because all they show are like little out of context snippets of what he's saying, whatever like serves their agenda, without ever showing like where's the crazy talk. Like when you look at the breadth of his speeches, why not use those as examples? Why not if you want to, what is the word I'm looking for here? If you want to undermine an individual, why don't you show the breadth of their work and then critically break it down? I'm just questioning. Let's see what they're bitching about. Okay.
Local newspaper. They don't get down to the corner. There isn't any corner anymore. There's no more gift shops or things like that or barber shops. It's all in the big companies are running all of that retail.
And why is that? Why is that? Why don't we have those mom and pop shops and those like little gift shops anymore?
You got around the edge of Philadelphia, around Somerton, around the edge there. That's Trump country too. That's more my ward went for Trump.
Yeah.
The 67th ward, which is cops and firemen, they have to live in the city for 5 years. It's Trump. South Philly is Trump. It's not. It's just like New York, where you have the neighborhoods that are very conservative, the Irish Italian neighborhoods, Bay Ridge, maybe different parts of Queens and Brooklyn. They're there. It breaks out.
And Belushi, what are you doing up so early?
That's really a good factor there.
What's up with that? What are you doing this morning, Belushi?
People are very conservative. They just are. And because they're conservative, they're voting for Trump. That's the irony, Joe. This is the heart. People like you who grew up conservative are also voting for Trump because they're voting the party line. They're voting the party line. And that's just
no. Well, okay, maybe some people are voting the party line. I'm not voting for Trump because I'm voting for the party line. I'm voting for Trump because I like his policies.
For abortion, but they want abortion rights. And that when the president comes out, the former president says, I want there to be some form of punishment. I want women to be punished for having an abortion. He said so when he went and said and hired those 3 new
judges
for the Supreme Court.
Show it. Show your receipts. Do it.
Right. He's clearly the bad guy here. And I just
don't think so. I don't think so. Not so clearly.
They got to hit it really hard because when you go into the voting booth, maybe the husband and wife may not talk about how they're going to vote. But I think the women especially are going to say, wait a minute, this is a deprivation of my rights. The rights I grew up with are being taken away in Pennsylvania, and we've got to do something about it.
Coming up, best-selling biographer
Okay.
joins us with his new look at the life
What
and
is it?
legend of former President Ronald Reagan. Morning Joe Weekend.
Okay, I don't know what this next segment is going to be about. Apparently, it's going to be about Ronald Reagan and stuff. Okay, good morning, Smokey Randy. Can I make gay jokes on this channel? Yes. You're watching one right now. I love gay jokes. Okay, and then let's see, Fact Finder. Good morning. I am up early too. Why, oh, why? Oh, girl. Ugh. Fact Finder. I forget. I didn't mean to misgender you. And then also, especially if you're an adult, I particularly did not mean to microaggress you by diminishing your age by saying girl. I'm sorry, but yes, I can't see you, so I can't, figure it out. And I know I should know like who you are by now, but it's like because I've known you for like a while, but it's only online. I don't know you as a person yet. So good morning, Fact Finder. Yes, up too early, why, and a puking baby, of course. Let's all wake up together. All right, big stretch. Just raise it up. Wiggle the fingers, get the blood flowing. How many of you were in your shower this morning with a spray bottle of extra strength vinegar, Dawn dishwashing liquid? Okay, all right. You gave me the Karen thing. Okay, you're laughing. Okay. That was received well. How many of you? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna choke. Hold on. Okay, one moment, I'll get to your joke over there, Smoking Randy. I see you over there. How many of you were in your showers this morning with a spray bottle of extra strength vinegar and Dawn dishwashing liquid, scrubbing your tiles down and making sure that your whatever needs to be cleaned and stuff like that? Have you ever been like in your shower and you like look over and you're like, holy hell, what if I let go? Where the hell am I living? I did a thorough cleanse of my shower this morning while I was in it, washing off last night's olive oil and hyaluronic acid, trying to keep this old corpse looking fresh. Yes. All right, now onto the jokes. Let's see. Jars are for preserving food, not for drinking out of. That's not a gay joke. And how dare you disparage me? This is, I use them for all sorts of things. You do, how dare you infringe upon my culture and try to tell me how to live my life? You don't own me. Oh my gosh. Let's see what else to say. Buy a real drinking glass from the dollar store, you damn hipster. I have a china cabinet, I'll have you know. I have very fine glassware. I just don't bring them out except for special occasions. They all have McDonald's on the side of them. Either that or Coca-Cola. I'm total white trash. Okay, let's see. I'm not waking up. It's Sunday night here. I'm from the future. Well, aren't we all a little bit, depending on what we're taking. I'm sober. Anyway, I forgot about gay jokes. Yes, get to the gay jokes, Smokey Randy. It's like I'm sitting. Okay, Fact Finder's not a girl. Okay, good. Oh, okay, you got a chainsaw. Oh, okay, I see. I now know. Okay, so you use the Karen, all right, which I associate with femininity and stuff because, Karen from Will and Grace. But then you got the dude with the chainsaw, and I can clearly see, okay, you're making your point. All right. So on with the gay jokes. All right, we're in commercial. Come on, lay them on me. What do you never, ever go? Okay. Why don't you ever go to a gay man's barbecue? Don't tell me this is something about a spit roast. Okay, lay it on me. What's the answer? Okay, wait. Before any of that, audience, anyone else in the audience? Okay, I see that there are like 5 people in here. That would be 2 of them would be me. One on 45, one account, one on my account. So I know that there are like 3 other people in here because the sausages always taste like shit. That's not right. Gays are some of the cleanest people out there. Not those queers, though. Those queers are filthy. But the gays are pretty damn clean. Okay, let's get back to Reagan.
Famine, depression and prosperity, sickness and health. I've seen the depths of suffering and the peaks of triumph. And I know in my heart that man is good, that what is right will always eventually triumph, and that there is purpose and worth to each and every life.
Yes.
That was former President Ronald Reagan, nearly
Each and
3
every
years
life,
after leaving office,
including from
at the
conception.
dedication of his presidential library. Reagan's life, from humble beginnings in Illinois through his 2 terms in the White House, is subject of a new comprehensive biography titled Reagan, His Life and Legend. And the New York Times
Fact finder,
author of the book,
it's not that it's
Max
wrong,
Jones,
it's this that is
also
odd.
columnist for the Washington
It's
Post.
odd. If you don't know gay jokes, it might be a little bit
The
odd.
council
But don't worry,
for
don't worry.
also turn
You
it
got
over to
time.
Caitlin.
You got time.
But first,
All right, let's get back to this.
question.
Ronald Reagan said, all life is valuable. Well, that would include life at conception. All right, are they going to talk about that? Oh, hell no. But let's see. Let's see what they talk about.
Basically bows at the feet of Orban, supports the appeasement of Vladimir Putin in Ukraine, and still claims the mantle of Ronald Reagan. Explain those contradictions.
Well, it's hard to explain, Joe, except to say that the Republican Party has been drifting ever further to the right ever since roughly 1964, when Barry Goldwater was the nominee. And what you saw was
What you
that
talking about? Hold
Ronald
on.
Reagan was
You
obviously
need to shut your
further
mouth.
to the right.
What are you
than
talking
Richard
about? The
Nixon and
Republican
Gerald
Party has
Ford.
been ever
And
further
now, of
drifting
course,
to
we're
the
in a
right.
situation where
It's
Donald
like these
Trump
progressive
supports
lefties have been
Trump
like,
very
forever.
far to the right
I mean,
Ronald Reagan.
did they not
And
just
such
put
that
on some
every
inline
generation
skates
of
and just go right
Republicans
downhill
who
left?
has come before
What are you
is
talking
then
about?
denounced
I
by
think
the-
maybe
by
this
the
is a
next generation as being
perspective thing.
sellouts or rhinos
Sir,
or
you
people
might
who
be,
aren't really,
maybe from your point of view,
Republicans,
you're
but in
correct.
fact,
However, I
the
came
party
from the
has gone
left.
so far
And
to
let
the
me tell
right
you something.
today,
The left
that
went so
the
far left,
previous
I went center,
generation,
and then went
folks like Ronald
conservative.
Reagan, who at one
All
time
right?
was a Republican
It's
icon,
like I may not have
will
dropped
not
every single
recognize
mannerism that I had
what
when
the
I was
party
on the
has
left
become.
on the plantation,
You know,
but I
David
will tell
Frens,
you
I'll
this.
give you the
The
next
right
question.
did not
I've
go
gotta
further
say,
right.
though,
The
it's
left went fucking
fascinating that
nuts.
just
They went
like
crazy.
people who call
They let all those
themselves
queers in, and then
evangelicals
everything went
don't
crazy.
use it,
All right,
David
let's see.
French, as a description of their faith. Can you show me David French, please?
Hey, David French.
Okay, they
Yeah,
don't use the term evangelical as a description of their faith. They use it as a cultural marker. We see the same
No,
thing
that's
with
what you
Reagan.
do.
People
What are you
that have
talking
no
about?
idea what Ronald Reagan stands for are against 90% of Ronald Reagan stood for, whether you talk about free trade, whether you talk about immigration, whether you talk about standing up to Russian aggression. I could go down the list, whether you talk about being conservative ideologically and moderate temperamentally, working with Democrats, working with Tip O'Neill types. I mean, there's such a radical difference that, again, just like Tim Keller saying, "I don't call myself an evangelical because it's
Yes.
now a political phrase." I feel the same thing about people who claim the mantle of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, it's amazing, the number of Republicans I run into who actually will believe and say that Trump is an heir to Reagan is amazing to me. There is this really remarkable con job that is taking place, I think, within the Republican Party, where very many Republicans actually still believe that the current Republican Party is part of that Reagan legacy, when it is a direct repudiation of that legacy. And this gap between what Trumpism is and what Ronald Reagan and who Ronald Reagan was and what he believed is immense. But it's surprising to me constantly that ordinary, everyday Republicans often don't recognize that. And I think one question I'd have for Max would be, is he seeing any element of that Reagan legacy still remnant, still remaining in a way that could be ignited again?
Well, there are certainly aspects of the Reagan legacy that are still around, but I think we also need to be fair and objective. And this is, this book that I wrote is not meant to be, it's neither a hagiography nor a hit job. It's really trying to tell the story.
You know what? It would help if I had my mic
I think
unmuted.
when we do that, we also
Anyway,
have to see that
my joke here. I'll give you guys some time to marinate and think on this
Reagan
one.
also had,
What do you call a
failures
gay
and
guy
weaknesses.
in a sleeping
And
bag?
while there's much more
Again,
more differences
what do
and
you
resemblances
call
between
a gay
Reagan
guy
and today's
in
Republican
a
Party, there are
sleeping
also some,
bag? All right, think
disturbing
about that
trend
one.
lines that
I'll give you
have
the answer in
continued
just a
over the
bit.
decades, including the fact that Reagan did engage in white backlash politics. He did use fake facts. There were aspects, he ignored a pandemic just as Donald Trump did. There are aspects of Reagan's legacy where you can see, oh, this is how the Republican Party got from there to hear. Even though I think the differences are much greater than the similarities, I think you also have to understand that there are also some disturbing continuities. And so I think we have to wrestle with the real Reagan, not just with the legend or the myths that have grown up around him.
We've seen, Max, over the last several years, and we played on this show Ronald Reagan's farewell speech in January of 1989, where he stopped and very deliberately took a moment to talk about immigration and how important it is to the country and the beauty, as he saw it, in people coming to this country and becoming Americans. Boy, what a contrast, obviously, to Donald Trump, who began his political career talking about murderers and rapists.
You know, I'm pretty sure Ronald Reagan wasn't experiencing a freaking invasion when he was having those thoughts either. Anyway, the answer is, no, it's not a fag, but that's fun. It's a fruit roll-up.
Well, that is definitely one of the biggest differences between Reagan and Trump.
Okay, let's get back to these bitches. What's going on over here? Who is that? Hold on, let me go with my magnifying glass. Hold on. I have to see. What the hell was that? Bonus holes matter. Let's see. Good morning, Bong Hit. Good morning, Bong Hit. Welcome. Oh, happy Sunday, and welcome everyone who is showing up and rolling out of bed, or like if you haven't even gone to sleep, or like whatever you've been doing and everything like that. Thank you so much for coming on over. We're going to be covering the news. We're going to be talking about whatever. Enjoying Sunday. I've got my sister's birthday party to go to later on today. So I don't know how long the show is going to run, but yeah, we're just going to see where this goes. It's going to be a couple hours. I guarantee it's going to be, at least a few hours that we're going to be doing this, because the mainstream media is full of AIDS, and I know, guys, I know. Watching it has got to be an absolute turmoil, an absolute awful experience, I'm sure. But let's laugh at these motherfuckers. I mean, why not? They're right there, right in front of our faces. Besides, I'm waiting for the grass to dry, and grass won't be dry until 11 o'clock in the morning, and right now it is 5:36 a.m. Oh my lord, this next part is going to be so crazy. Oh, this is going to be nuts. If it's going to be Harris and reproductive rights, they're probably going to drag out Simone Sanders, and they're going to, for some reason, Al Sharpton's going to be there for no damn reason whatsoever. Let's see what these commercials are all about. And of course, husband over there can't keep the dog from like barking, but that'll be taken care of. You know what? Pardon me. You know what? No, I won't be right back. You know what? I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him right now. Be like, dun. Just gonna call him. Yes, I'm using a landline. Hey, curious one. And he sent me to voicemail. The ass sent me to voicemail. He sent me right to voicemail. How is that for a marriage? That's when you know that your marriage is good. When your spouse goes and sends you directly to voicemail, because you know that he's going to be picking up the line, and it's just going to be going like, why don't you shut that dog up? Why does that dog have to be barking? You know I'm streaming right now. It's like, yes, I could have shut the studio door and everything like that, but I pay half this mortgage on this house. It's like I can have free flow of air. It's like I don't need to be all stuck in here with hot equipment and forming a microbiome and everything like that. I don't want that. Anyway, let's see. What is it? I'm actually jealous of base gay dudes. It seems like a better life than dealing with most women these. Oh, don't say that, Smokey Randy. Don't say that. That's all part of the leftist playbook. That's what they want people to do. They want people to gravitate towards gay men. And I'll say it like this. In the beginning, it was like they wanted people to gravitate towards gay men. That's why you had Will and Grace. That's why you had Three's Company with Jack Tripper acting gay. That's why you had, what was it, Too Close for Comfort with Monroe? I think that was Monroe. You had all the, and then who are all these other gay characters? The ones who you could get along with. Well, what did they start doing? They started replacing gay people with queers. And of the most toxic type. Got the queers who are like addicted to drugs, all sorts of alcohol, extreme sexual immorality, the ones who manipulate the dark triad empaths, if you will, the sociopathic ones, like downright sociopath. Like, I'm not talking about, like, I myself, a bit sociopathic. On the same time, a sociopath who understood well enough to go and get some help, go and get some therapy, go and, like, learn how to manage my mental illness on this. And then you've got these queers out there who are not interested in improving their lot in life. They're just looking to rip other people down. So, just a word of caution. I can hear the humor in what you're saying. I can hear that. I receive it. And at the same time, as a general observation, having come from the left, it's part of their playbook to erase women. I shit thee not. I shit thee not. It's in the playbook. Let's see. He wears the pants. Considering I'm not right now. I mean, how many streamers do you know who actually wear pants or slacks when they're streaming? No, we're typically in shorts. I'll be wearing pants later when I go and visit my family and such. Okay, these people are back. Let's see what they're going to talk about. I think they're going to have Kamala Harris on.
Have kicked off a national bus tour starting on Donald Trump's home turf in Florida. The tour, which will focus on reproductive rights, began with a stop in Palm Beach. It heads to Jacksonville today with at least 50 stops planned in key states throughout the fall. Joining us now, the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate in Florida, former Congresswoman Debbie McCarcel-Powell. She spoke at yesterday's event. I want to hear about your campaign and whether or not you'll get to debate your opponent. But my big question is, how was this bus tour received in Palm Beach County, Florida? Was there a crowd? Were they open to the message?
Good morning, Mika. Good morning, everyone. Oh, my goodness. I mean, everything that you've been seeing in all the rallies that have been held by the vice president, it was the same exact thing. The energy was electric. That room was packed with women that have really just had enough of all the attacks against our rights here in the state of Florida. As you know, Mika, we are now living under one of the most extreme bans on abortion, a 6-week ban that Rick Scott fully supports.
Is it?
I mean, he has been proudly saying that.
Is it really that extreme?
That has hardly any exceptions to rape and incest. And so people in the state of Florida have been organizing now for more than a year. And this was just a pivotal moment where the vice president and the Harris campaign is sending a message. Florida is in play. What we have been organizing in our state was shown yesterday, and it will continue to grow before November. And so I need everyone watching. I need everyone with me, because I'm running up against one of the most extreme senators that cannot get reelected. Because if he does, even if we pass Amendment 4, he will push for a national abortion ban. So I need everyone going to my website, contributing, joining the campaign, debbieforflorida.com.
So, if I may, can we talk more about that 6-week ban? What are the results of that? Because Florida has been able to experience it for quite some time now, so there are consequences. And there are things that have happened because of the 6-week ban that will continue to happen to women in Florida, traumatizing the families who love them. Can you explain what a 6-week ban does to them?
As if abortion in and of itself is not traumatizing. Oh my gosh.
You know, we have been hearing more and more stories that have been coming out. This 6-week ban went into effect May 1st. Yesterday at the rally, Anya Cook spoke about her experience where she was turned away by a doctor. Her pregnancy was not developing. The fetus was not developing. She was sent home. And the next day, at a bathroom, at a salon, she had a miscarriage and lost half of her blood. She almost died because of it, and she almost lost her reproductive organs. And just recently, a few weeks ago, we heard of a very...
We're going to pause. Okay, instead of me just like lowering, because I can pause it and then we can like catch up. So get this shit. All right, so she wants to use an example of a woman who had a miscarriage and lost a lot of blood. Let me tell you something. Those, and I covered this yesterday during, MSM and Frens, and I will say this. The abortion pills, the miltefosine, and the cocktail that you take with that in order to induce a miscarriage can do the same damn thing. It can cause the woman to hemorrhage, all right? That drug cocktail can also be administered with a sedative. an anti-anxiety, like a Valium or something that will take the woman, the female, and put her in a state of mind, like after the uterus begins to eject the baby, and let the uterine lining start to slip away, and the miscarriage process begin to happen, because that's what it's doing. It's inducing a miscarriage. The woman can have the miscarriage and not know that she is internally hemorrhaging. And she takes the sedative because she's just experienced a traumatic event. And she goes to sleep. And because she's sleeping in sedation, she's not aware that she's now bleeding to death while sleeping. There's no doctor there. There's no medical oversight. So miss me with this argument about saying that we need to have abortions like this, because it doesn't address that what they're moving towards are unsupervised abortion. When you look up milprefazone, let me look it up for you guys like right now. Here, let me pull up another thing right here. Let me go on over here and let me pull up a screen. All right, let's see. Okay, let's see. To which week of pregnancy will mifepristone cocktail be effective? Question mark. Okay, let's see. Based on the provided research or search results, mifepristone, which used in combination with misoprostol, is FDA approved by the FDA for medical termination of pregnancy through 10 weeks of gestation. So we're looking at 2.5 months. Okay, let's see. Size of human fetus. Size of human fetus at 10 weeks. According to various sources, a human fetus at 10 weeks of gestation is approximately the size of an apricot. It's got a heart, it's got a brain, it's got a central nervous system at that point. And what you're dealing with here is that the reason why the sedatives are given, even though it's not publicized, is think about it. The baby has its own circulatory system at this point. Okay? The baby is not going to survive outside the womb for very long. Maybe if that baby had medical intervention, maybe through some very intensive medical process, that baby could be brought to term. That baby may very well pass through the cervix, down through the vaginal canal, and out into wherever it plops, living. And this is something they're not telling people while pushing for this, is that you may deliver a living human being. Now imagine that you want to terminate your pregnancy, but you thought, because you were not informed about this, and there you go, now you're facing this, and now the reality of the situation has hit you. Because how often have we heard people talking about, it's like, well, it's not really a child, it's not really this, it's not really that, it's just a fetus, it's just a clump of cells. No, this clump of cells has arms. Here, let's go take a look. Just go take a look. Let's see what a 10-week-old fetus looks like. Are we going to show them? Because I know that a lot of this stuff has been scraped off the internet. It's like you cannot find a lot of stuff. Okay, so let me see. I want to see a 10-week human fetus. I want to see a 10-week human fetus. 10-week-old human fetus. Just show me an image, please. All right, what do we have here? End of first month. Okay, so at the end of the first month already, we have an eye bud. We have the beginning of a face. We have, and that, we have this like right here. Show me a 10-week. That one's too far along. Is this one 9 weeks? Oh, look. Here we go at 9 weeks. So, it's got limbs. It's clearly got a spine. It's clearly got little bones forming and everything like that. You can even see it's translucent. It's like, you can kind of see through the baby. And it's very much alive. So back to this woman's argument. She's talking about like, oh, this woman was hemorrhaging and she couldn't get care. Well, if these women aren't actually under, medical supervision, what kind of care are they going to get? I'm just saying. All right, let's see. Week 10. Yes, that's fucked up. What even happened to the morning after pill? Are you 486? Demons, man, demons. All right, I'm going to let this play.
Heard of a very similar story in Miami. This is happening in the United States of America. This is happening in our own state, where women are forced to leave the state to get this reproductive health care. And Mika, you know that this is central not only to our health care, it is central to our dignity. This should be a decision that is made between a woman, her doctor, her family, her faith. In Latin America,
it's very dignified to give a woman pills so she can end a pregnancy on the floor or wherever the pregnancy terminates, in a bloody mess. That's so dignified. That's dignity.
in Latin America, as you know, my mother brought me and my sisters here from Latin America, and we have seen laws being passed to protect abortion rights, because we have seen that there's a rise of violence against women when you have these extreme bans on abortion, and also high rates of maternal mortality. And of course, the rates of maternal mortality are highest among Black women and Latina women.
Congresswoman, good morning. Good to have you on the show. I want to ask you about the charge. You mentioned your own upbringing, immigrating to the United States with your family fleeing dictatorship. The charge that we keep hearing from Senator Scott and his campaign, that you, and they lump in Vice President Harris as well, are somehow socialist, that you want price controls on groceries, something that Vice President Harris has talked about, saying that you want amnesty for illegal immigrants. If you could address the immigration question. First of all, he's even charged that you want to let illegal immigrants vote in the election, which of course is against the law. So if you can just address the charge that you are somehow, a serious charge in Florida, as I don't need to tell you, are somehow in league with socialists.
Look, it's completely false. I mean, Rick Scott has absolutely nothing but to spread disinformation. He is one of the most extreme senators that we have in the Senate right now. And Rick Scott has no idea what it's like for people like my family that had to grow up under a military dictatorship. I have family living in Venezuela. I have very good friends that are in Venezuela. He has no idea what it's like to fight for freedom and democracy. And he's using this pain, this attack, this false attack, to try and score political points. And he's insulting the legacy of my mother, of Latinos that have left socialist dictatorships. And if he wants to talk about the border, let me just say a couple of things here. He had the opportunity, not once, but twice, to vote for a border bill that I would have voted for, that was sponsored and endorsed by Customs and Border Patrol, that would have provided significant funding for our border. We must protect our border, but we must have the courage to sit down at the table with Republicans, Democrats, whoever wants to deal with the issue that we have at the border, to make sure that we provide legal pathways. That's what Republican business owners here in the state of Florida have asked me to do. It's one of the things that we were trying to do when I was in the House of Representatives. And look, if he wants to debate the issue of socialism, if he wants to debate the issue of the border, just this morning, we released our acceptances to 3 different debates. And what I would love to do is have a debate in Spanish, because he has been targeting Latino communities, misinforming them, which is really dangerous for our communities. And so I would love for Rick Scott to have the courage to stand next to me at the debate stage, and let's do it in English and in Spanish.
Democratic nominee for Senate in Florida, former Congresswoman Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. Up next, Pulitzer Prize-winning author and presidential historian Doris Kearns Goodwin will be here to tell us about her new book, The Leadership Journey: How 4 Kids Became President. That's right after the break.
Life?
Mom, with these sandwiches, I'm gonna be the coolest guy in the lunchroom. I need to practice my cool guy greetings. Sup. Sup. Sup.
Heather likes things smooth. So when she had a rough time getting a weight loss appointment,
Okay, fortunately, we can fast forward through the commercials.
Mint commercial.
Because I'm only like, what? It's only like 6 minutes behind, I think.
Hi.
Yeah, let's get through the commercials. Otherwise, this is live. Let's see. You know what? I'm just going to take us all the way. I'm just going to take us all the way to live.
President and senator.
All right, let's see what they're talking about.
Did he have that informed the man he became, who, of course, along with the civil rights leaders of the time, helped to change history?
Well, the interesting thing is he was very smart as a little kid, or so his mother said. He could cite the alphabet when he was 2 years old. He quoted poetry at 4 years old, but then school never spoke to him. He wasn't a good student, to the great dismay of his mother, and he refused to go to college. So he went out for 2 years to just see, can I make it on my own, to California, and he couldn't. He came back and he finally went to college. Then he gets to college, he decides, okay, now I'm gonna really settle down. I have to find out, where is the power? Who can be my mentor? So he's got a job outside collecting garbage. He decides, I'll collect more garbage than anybody in the quickest amount of time, they'll notice me. So they bring him inside. Inside, he decides, I want to mop outside the president's office, because the president's got the power. He's so talkative to the president. The president invites him in the office. He becomes a messenger for the president. Next thing you know, he's living in the president's house, and he's on his way. But it took something. And the interesting thing is, he took a year off from college, and he went to teach at Catula, a small Mexican-American school. And the kids were really poor. And the kids, he could see the scar of prejudice on their faces. He gave part of his salary for soccer games, for baseball games. But more than that, it touched something inside him that said, I want to make life different for them. And that's the beginning. In fact, much later, when he gives the great We Shall Overcome speech on civil rights after Selma, he goes back to Catula, that was the moment when I wanted to do something for those kids. I didn't have a lot that I could do then, but now I'm President of the United States, he said before a joint session of Congress. I can do something for the kids and grandkids. And let me tell you, I have the power now, and I intend to use it.
Don't go away. We have a second hour of Morning Joe this Sunday morning coming up right after the break. How was that?
Good.
Okay.
We'll be back.
Joe is like asking Mika, how is that? She's like, good. I don't think that was supposed to be played live. All right, so looking over the text, Smokey Randy says, I look at things differently. Not all people should breed. You see the results of shitty parents every day. And to which I responded, I was like, no argument on that. Absolutely, there are some people who should not become parents. And at the same time, I mean, it's like, ooh, killing a baby. I mean, you juxtapose those two things. Like, yeah, I agree. Some people should not be parents, and at the same time, I'm not on board with like killing a baby. I'm not saying that you are, by the way. I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying just in the context of the topics we've been covering so far this morning. If I were given a choice between, oh my gosh, well, because you know what? In reality, there are other options. I would say, okay, you're clearly going to be a bad parent. You've clearly got your life like not ready for children or anything like that. I mean, there is always adoption, either family adoption or the traditional adoption system. I know it's not the best case scenario. I get that. However, it offers the child a chance. It doesn't just remove their potential completely and dispose of them as if they're trash. I mean, we're talking about a baby here. It's like, so I'm not saying that you ascribe nor subscribe to anything like the argument. Was it even an argument? More of a just observation. I'm not saying that you subscribe to that. I'm saying that I agree with you on your statement, and thankfully we do have other options in those cases. I don't think abortion should be at the top of the list, though. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying that you are saying that. I'm just saying it's like I don't think abortion should be at the top of the list. All right, let's see. And then Smokey Randy says, I've always said that there is no such thing as shit dogs and shit children, just shitty parents and shitty dog owners. For the most part. Well, there can be shitty kids too. I mean, some kids, I don't know. Some kids are wired and they're wired for evil. I mean, we've got a literature based on evil kids. Now, question on that. Were they taught how to be evil? This would have to be a case-by-case study on seeing like evil kids in history and what took them to that place. It's like, how did they become that way? You know what? I'm going to say that for the most part, it is because of the environment they're brought up in. And like shitty parents and shitty dog owners. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I will say this. There are exceptions. I mean, sometimes you have a dog that's just wired for aggression. I mean, sometimes that's just how it is. And maybe sometimes kids are too. I would rather find out. I would rather have them be born and find out, because, I mean, what are we removing here? I don't want a society where we just dispose of people because they're inconvenient. I don't want that.
To more of this week's top stories.
Can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare.
I think we have time for one more report. Bart Simpson?
No.
Is your book report on Treasure Island ready?
Is it ready? Ha! What a question. Fellow students, prepare to be dazzled.
This is MSNBC. What the hell does this have anything to do with what Trump was just saying? Oh my gosh, they're using The Simpsons. What are they trying to do? Some sort of a burn or something like that? Let's see where they're going to go, because quite frankly, I'm in favor of the tariff system. And with the tariff system, it removes a lot of our taxes. It gives the consumer the buying power which belongs with the consumer, instead of having broad-based taxes. And we'll see where this is going, and then we'll get into it, I'm sure. You know what, though, before we go back to that, good morning, because I typed it, but why should I just type it when I can say it? Good morning, Mikey Baseball, and good morning, Road Dog. Hey, welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning. All right, let's see what the hell kind of burn MSNBC is going to try to do here with the freaking Simpsons.
Well, as Mrs. Krabappel already mentioned, the name of the book that I read was Treasure Island. It's about these pirates. Pirates with patches over their eyes, and shiny gold teeth, and green birds on their shoulders. Did I mention this book was written by a guy named Robert Louis Stevenson and published by the good people at McGraw-Hill? So, in conclusion, on the Simpson scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and 5 being average, I give this book a 9. Any questions? No? Then I'll just sit down.
Bart, did you read the book?
Mrs. Krabappel, I am insulted. Is this a book report or a witch hunt?
Then perhaps you'd like to tell us the name of the pirate.
Blackbeard, Captain Nemo, Captain Hook, Long John Silver, Pete, Bluebeard. Bluebeard?
Sit down, Bart. I'll see you after class.
Aww.
How is this relevant?
That looks awfully familiar.
Jonathan Lemire.
How is that relevant? How
is still with us?
Yeah, not just on The Simpsons, but in my own.
That hit home.
My own academic
That
career.
hit home.
Yeah.
How the hell was that relevant to what they just showed with Trump?
MSNBC contributor Mike Barnacle, the host of the
Oh,
podcast
Simone.
On Brand with Donnie Deutsch. Donnie Deutsch.
Donnie, like me, had a few of those
And
book reports.
Someone who did not, co-host of MSNBC's The Weekend, Simone Sanders Townsend. Good to have you all with us.
So, Mike Barnacle, you know.
Okay, number one, I have no idea why they went from Trump talking about tariffs to a Simpsons clip. I guess that was like some sort of like a mind wipe. It didn't work on me. While that was going on, Smokey Randy has provided a link to about 6 minutes of comedy, which we'll get into in just a bit. Let's find out what these asshats have to say first, though, because you're ready to get some AIDS. Everyone, get your prep out. Here we go. And by the way, did anyone else come in? Okay, we're all good. Oh, look at that. We've got people lurking out there on YouTube and D-Live and Telegram. Good morning, guys. Can't see you right now. But if you're on X and watching this, if you put a comment in the live action portion, not in the X post, but actually go to what's streaming currently from this, I'll see it in Restream. If you're on YouTube, I'll see it in Restream. If you're on D-Live, I'll see it on Restream. If you're in Kick or Telegram, I will not see your comments. So my apologies, I'm not monitoring those chats. But the other chats, I am monitoring. So just, start engaging. Also know this. Let me see if my caption is ready over here. Let's see. This is for later. You'll see this later. It'll say, moving to Pilled exclusive soon. Get your butt over to Pilled, pilled.net/No Prisoners Podcast. That'll be coming up later. I'll be showing that quite often, but I want to let you know now. If you're not on Pilled, please make an account on Pilled. It's a free speech platform. It's wonderful. They've got stickers. They've got great content creators. It's just a really good platform. And let me put it this way, quite bluntly. When you make donations to the content creators on Pilled doesn't take much. It takes a very small percentage of what you donate to the content creator. Unlike YouTube, I don't know Rumble, but I'm pretty sure that Pilled takes a far smaller percent than Rumble does. And so, yeah, I'm just saying, Pilled is a growing platform right now. It's a wonderful platform, and I support Pilled. And that's where we're going to be going exclusive in a couple hours from now. So, just hang tight for now. But just know, you've got options. All right, you ready for some AIDS? Let's get it.
Townsend, good to have you all with us.
So, Mike Barnacle, it's so interesting. You look at what Donald Trump and those that desperately want a guy who wants to be an autocrat in office, wants him to be elected, and they'll accuse Kamala Harris of engaging in word salad. And when there you saw Donald Trump 3 feet deep in lettuce, croutons, and sentence fragments.
Yeah.
It's just like them accusing her of changing her positions when Donald Trump changes his positions.
Bitch, you're the ones who put the clip together. You're the ones who put the clip together. You asshats.
Saying he's not going to be a champion of women's reproductive rights, and then the next day saying he's going to vote for getting rid of a 6-week ban in Florida. Then the next day he says he's going to vote against it, and then having a speech saying we need to let as many immigrants in as we can. I mean,
yeah, legal immigrants, not illegals, Joe. And then as far as like what you're trying to do with the flip-flopping, those of us who have been watching Donald Trump who about like this whole abortion thing, we've had our critiques all the way about how Donald Trump is handling this. It's not like he's flip-flopping. He is considering on these on these topics of abortion. It's his core values and beliefs on it, to my perception, have not changed. And I'm one of the critics of his when it comes to that. It's like, it would be pleasing to me if he was much more bold in his assertions when it comes to topics like abortion. And he is who he is. You have to take a little bit of bad with the greater good on this one. It's like, because the rest of his policies, I'm on board with. Almost like, let's see, if I were to give it a percentage, I'd say in my feelings, I'd say I'm on board with about 93% of what he proposes. And that last 7% are things that really don't apply to me as a man. So it's like, I'm socially observant. However, when it comes down to it, it won't affect me personally nor financially. So that last 7%, I really don't even have a dog in the fight for that. I just have feelings on the matter. But, well, no, I won't say but. I'm not going to use the word but. I'll say, and I fully support Donald Trump. So there's that. Let's see.
No, if you look at her approval rating right now, and you look at Kamala Harris on the issues, their attacks aren't hitting, because whatever they want to accuse her of, Donald Trump is actually more guilty. And in this case, word salad, please. Mika said the people that were up there keeping a straight face after asking the question deserved combat pay.
Gotta zoom in on those folks.
Yeah, I mean, those were serious people. This was not a rally crowd that he was addressing. And the phrase of the day has to be, childcare is childcare. Wow, right. We didn't know that, but it's an important thing. Look, he's gotten away with this all of his life. He's going to continue to get away with it until Election Day. He won't change. He's an inch deep and a mile wide. Always has been. It's gibberish. He might as well get up there and just go hummina, 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 the old Jackie Gleason stuff. But he doesn't. But this is the end of it. I just have a sense out there in the country, this great country called America, that he's such an old, tired act. People don't like reruns. You don't really buy Netflix to watch reruns. You want something new or something promising. And the elections are about the future, as we've said a million times. And this man is the past.
So just a few days ago, we heard Trump talk about the weave and how he would try to connect all these ideas together. That wasn't the weave.
That was the weave.
That wasn't the weave. That was just pure nonsense, Donnie. And I have to say that if President Biden had offered an answer like that at any point, you would see the screaming.
They're not producing any receipts or any sauce. So we're going to move over to comedy for a moment. While they go and jack each other off, we're going to go on over here and we're going to go and catch some comedy and listen to what this guy is saying, because MSNBC is misrepresenting the facts, and that part we already know about. Can already guarantee that they're going to be going on for minutes about whatever is in their imagination. So let's have some comedy. Let's do this.
Closing act this evening. He is the closing act of the series. We know you're going to love him. He's not talking about the news. He's just going to make you laugh. Would you please put your hands together and welcome Mr. Steve Hughes?
All right. You just witnessed the beginning of the apocalypse. Thank you, sir. I'm actually originally from Australia, and it's good to be up. Been here about 10 years, and been here for the summer. The summer has been fucking brilliant this year. Here in London, 2 weeks of fucking sun, and I'm not being patronising. It's fucking excellent. And, no, it is, because actually you have a better summer than Australia, because it's actually bearable. You know, in fucking Australia, it's hot as fucking shit, you understand? For months at a time. And then Europeans go, how come the Aboriginals didn't build anything? Because it's hot as fucking shit. You understand? Do you want to build a castle? Fuck that. I'm going to the beach. What are you fucking talking about? I used to live in Manchester, which I like a lot. I don't know if anyone's from North up here. And it's cool up there. I like it. Sorry, darling. Birmingham. Well, it's Midlands. We're talking fucking North, mate. Manchester. And I lived in the right in the city there, and right near Canal Street, and which is the gay part of Manchester. It's a very openly gay scene up in Manchester. It's very cool. But this fella, it's quite a strange thing. This fella in Manchester, he came up to me one day and he goes, you know, if you wear an earring in your right ear, which I do, he said in England that means you're gay. It does. It's fucking weird. It does. Well, it's weird, mate. See, in Australia, it's when you got your cock in another man's ass. Fucking oath there. You got a lot of catching up to do. And I'll admit I've got some homophobic friends. No, none of us are supposed to be like that anymore because of the age of political correctness, which is actually intellectual colonialism and psychological fascism for the creation of thought crime. But I've got some homophobic friends, and they're very funny, and a lot of people go, what? They're homophobic? Well, they shouldn't be. Well, they are. Well, they should stop it. Well, they're not. Well, they should. Well, you go and tell them. I mean, they're not mental cases, my mates. They don't hit gay men. They're not waiting in the woods with a crossbow. They're not fucking insane, right? They just don't like it, and that's the fucking deal. And they're very funny, mate. One of my mates especially, he's my age, and he still can't deal with it. He's tried, but I saw him about a month ago, and he's still freaking out. I don't like him, mate. I don't like him. I'm going, who? He goes, the poofters, mate. The gays, mate. I don't like them. I said, why not, mate? He goes, I'll tell you why not. Because they're not real men, and they're not tough. They're not tough. Huh? They fuck men. That's hardly gay. What do straight men want? Ooh, I want a woman. Soft and feminine. And what do you want, Dave? I want to fuck a bloke. I want a big, strong bloke to fuck me in the ass. Is that a bit tough for you and your pussy-loving mates? Is it? Fuck you, because we want cock, son. Cock! Yeah, you go and play with your girly tits, you fucking gaylord. Go on. Straight! It's the new gay. Oh, which it is. I know it is. We live in the corporate age where everyone, no men are left. I've seen young straight fellas wandering around these days. You've seen them. You know them, don't you? The ones with their little pre-ripped jeans and their Tony and Guy haircuts. They're thinking they understand women because they bought a belt. Have you seen them? You know who I'm talking about, don't you? Women know who I'm talking about. They come up to them all the time. Hi, how are you? I just want to fucking pull your trousers up, you stupid prick. Now... Thank you. It's not just me developing hate in the street. You'll suck and see your underwear, you fuckwit. I mean, I don't hate them, really. I don't hate them. They're just fucking guys, and they've been stripped of their testicles because of the corporate entity. And, And I see them in the gym, the poor little bastards. I do feel sorry for them because they're in there, you know, and they're working out, but then they're in the dressing rooms and it takes them months to get out of there because they're all gelled up and shaved up and moisturised. Which is a good thing, maybe, because, you know, if I was going to fuck a guy, that's how I'd want him. So... yeah. Well, you don't want some fat, hairy mutant hanging over you. Football! Ooh. You don't want that. You want some crisp, minty chap, don't you? Smooth and tight like a lozenge. Have a brilliant night. Thank you.
Okay, I remember when woke first, what was it called? Political correctness. When that was first trying to be launched. And it died very, very quickly. And we thought it was over with. I like this kind of comedy. I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate the comedy. I like pointing out the realities of our lives and being able to laugh at it. Now, was this guy vulgar? Absolutely vulgar. Let me see, who is this? Steve Hughes. So let's give credit where credit is due. That was Steve Hughes, and apparently this video was from 2010. It's like, I like the freedom of speech aspects and such. So yeah, thank you for that submission. Thank you. All right, let's see what these guys are talking about.
Job. I mean, you would hope the moderators would follow up, but they haven't done a good job of it.
She's gonna have to make a long list and then keep up with them. And then I do hope they ask about things that he has said of late, like interfering with elections, and that, you know, he should have the right. I hope the questions are pertinent.
They haven't in the past.
I know.
So again, she can't depend on that. She has to, though, again,
bring it in.
Understand, Willie, I mean, she has to understand that this is so much has to do with the way her message is presented and the way Donald Trump's message is presented. And again, she has all the game film on this guy. All of the game film, going back to 2016. It seems like dozens of debates against one shocked and stunned and deeply saddened Republican or Democrat after another. She can look at the game films and she can look at everything that has not worked.
Yeah, guess what? She has a game film too. And people can look at it and see what has not worked. Except when we pointed out what has not worked, we get called racist, which is fine. You can use whatever name you want. It doesn't change the truth.
Everything that has not worked. And then be the happy warrior. Give the facts, and instead of being shocked and stunned at Donald Trump, just shake her head going, my gosh, you know, in effect saying, how did we even survive 4 years with this guy?
Maybe you invoke a little Ronald Reagan with a smile on your face. There you go again. You just keep telling the same lies over and over and over again. And part of the frustration with President Biden's performance in the debate, beyond obviously those viral moments that were troubling, was the fact for a lot of Democrats and a lot of people watching at home that Donald Trump kept throwing hanging curveballs over the middle of the plate, which frankly, people who watch this show every day could answer and rebut and say, no, actually on immigration, you killed the biggest piece of legislation that's come around in generations. So she knows she's a prosecutor, yes, but you don't even have to be a prosecutor. You have to be smart, which she is. You have to have studied the issues, which she has. And you have to know Donald Trump. As you say, we've watched this act now for a decade in politics. You and I know what answer is coming.
Then why is she so slow to debate him? If she's so studied, if she has so much knowledge and is so sure of herself and so practiced and has watched him and his playbook, why isn't she eager to debate him? Good morning, Ranger Billy.
Answer is coming. You and I know the facts. to respond with. And I think her team believes that Vice President Harris will be ready.
Coming up, Morning Joe economic analyst Steve Ratner on how the states that could feel the most economic pain in a Trump presidency are the ones that support him the most. Don't go anywhere.
All right, well, we're going to put those guys on pause for a moment. Going to put them on, mute for just a moment here. I know it's MSNBC. I know they have a bias. I get that. I was showing Bruce, my other half, yesterday. I was showing him how MSNBC was presenting the Crystal Mason, I believe, case out of Texas, where this individual had a felony tax fraud or some sort of felony tax related issue, which disqualified her from casting a vote in Texas. And her mother told her to go out and vote. And so she filled out a provisional ballot, and she was caught because she was still under, what do they call it? After you get out of prison. Oh, what is that called? You see, if I was in prison more often, I'd know. It's like surveillance, probation. Okay? She wasn't supposed to vote. I show Bruce both the MSNBC clip where they're stating that she had absolute 100% ability to vote and that there was nothing wrong with it. And, we need to have modifications made to voting rules to accommodate for these situations. And then I showed Bruce the actual history on Crystal Mason. And my husband is progressive left. Okay. He said that what MSNBC said was not inaccurate. And I pointed out that what MSNBC said omitted parts of the truth. There are people who do not look at the facts and then compare it to what is being spread on the mainstream. As long as morsels of truth are presented by the mainstream, this provides satisfaction. And when shown the body of evidence with all of the minutia, that excess is considered excess minutia, even though it changes the narrative upon which the mainstream media builds arguments. I can see the difference. He doesn't see the difference. Pray. That's all you can do. Just pray. Pray for people. All right, let's see what's here. All right. I miss the days when they used to hot chicks and boobs to sell things on TV. They still do. They're called bras. Let's see. Ranger Billy. Okay, let's see. You guys are talking to each other. Mistiming anyone is a crime in most places these days. And I acknowledge, oh my gosh, mistiming. Are you guys talking about time zone differences? All right, so here we have more Get Your Money. What is this? Greenlight. I think that's some sort of an app where you get an advance. It's like, this is bad in society where apps are promoted which encourage you to get cash advances because either you cannot manage your budget properly or because the economy is so bad that you're no longer living paycheck to paycheck, that you're literally floating debt upon debt. That's a really bad sign of society. Okay, let's see what they're talking
Morning
about.
Joe economic analyst Steve Ratner. Steve, you're looking at how Donald Trump's policies would do more harm to the states that support him the most. But before we get there, I do want to talk about taxes, and let's be very clear here. So Donald Trump and Kamala Harris both want to raise taxes. Kamala Harris is talking
Good morning,
about
misinformation.
actually raising taxes on corporations and the wealthiest of Americans. she's talking about, though, giving a big tax cut, big tax credit to small business owners that will benefit entrepreneurs. Donald Trump, as the Wall Street Journal editorial page said months ago, Donald Trump has proposed the biggest tax increases in this election through the form of tariffs. And who do tariffs hurt? They hurt consumers. They hurt middle-class Americans. They don't hurt the rich. They hurt consumers. They hurt middle-class Americans.
Okay. Number one, thank you for the cookie misinformation. Good morning, Kevin and friends. Good morning, misinformation. Joe Scarborough, who may or may not have killed his intern, is saying that Donald Trump's tariffs hurt the consumer. I would ask how. You put a tariff on imports. It increases the cost of those items. When you have that kind of market where the price increases on a product, it opens an avenue for local crafters and manufacturers to compete with those prices. What I'm pretty sure they're not going to talk about, one moment please. What I'm pretty sure they're not going to talk about are these aspects. If you have more manufacturing jobs in the United States, you have more jobs in the United States. That is just obvious from the get. Let's talk about environment. If you're placing a tariff on imported goods, which increase their price, which make them less attractive to the consumer, you are shipping less product, which in turn uses less fossil fuel, which in turn causes less of a carbon footprint. I mean, if we want to adopt their language, because don't think for a moment, I'm not going to adopt, just for the sake of argument, their points that they use on their side when trying to bludgeon us over the head. They're so concerned about the environment. They're so concerned about labor. Oh, they're concerned about jobs and such. Well, if you have tariffs on imported goods, it makes made in the USA products much more competitive against that, because you're not importing cheap goods any longer. Oh, they're still cheap. Oh, they're still poor quality. Trust and believe, the stuff that's imported from China is made to break, tear, rot, whatever. When things were made in America, they lasted. I have appliances from the 1970s I still use. I have clothing from the 1960s and the 1970s, which are still in the closet. In fact, last week I pulled one of them out. It had a very big, wide collar, some of you may have noticed. And it has no holes in it, absolutely durable, and not a button is missing from that shirt. So I'm okay with paying a little bit more, considering that due to tariffs, the taxes would be, for most parts, removed, putting more money in my pocket. I'm spending less in taxes. That's a win. Oh, this article of clothing, this appliance, whatever this import is, that's maybe that's too expensive. Well, maybe, okay, do I really need that? Or can I look at something else? Does this provide me an opportunity to get in contact with a local company? Someone who makes it at approximately the same price, if not a little bit lower, and at a higher quality? Someone who I can actually go to after the fact and go, hey, this broke down. Would you please fix it? That kind of stuff. I know with imports, you can have a repairman come and fix your stuff. You can also go online and learn how to repair your own stuff. That's the wonder and beauty of human innovation. is we have the ability to provide for ourselves, to be self-sufficient. What Joe and Mika and this other guy, what I imagine they're about to do is they're about to defend the federal branch of the government, which taxes and taxes and taxes, and then reallocates those funds to a whole slew of social programs, which further hamstring the ability to create and to acquire generational wealth. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. Kevin's fresh out of the closet vintage clothing line. Huge selling point. That could be. That could be. All right. And good morning and welcome everyone who's joining. Everyone out there on all the platforms other than Pilled, good morning as well. Feel free to chat, of course. If you're on YouTube or DLive or X, your chats will populate into Restream, and then I can see them and respond. All right, let's continue with these guys.
Middle-class Americans who can't afford the Trump tariff tax that they're going to get hit with.
Yeah, the Trump tariffs are, as you say, are actually a huge tax increase. It would cost the average American family something like $1,600 a year, and even worse than that, it would affect the people at the bottom in terms.
Okay, so let me get this correct. So they're not telling the part where the sales taxes are removed. They're not talking about the parts where other tax issues are removed from the liability of the citizens of the United States. They're just saying that the tariffs would increase the financial burden by about $1,600. Gee, how much do we spend for merchandise per annum, and how much are we taxed at? Anywhere from about 5 to 13%, depending on where you live. In Minnesota, we have a rather high tax for some odd reason. Gee, could it be that we've got a sanctuary city and a lot of very, very, lucrative social programs in Minnesota? Let's see, what would happen if we stop paying those taxes and stop funding all these social programs in Minnesota and stop making it so easy for the progressives to have their sanctuary cities? I think that the consumer, I think the citizen would probably have more money in their pocket, and it would probably be a lot more than $1,600, which would be saved due to lack of taxation when the taxes are replaced by tariffs. Are they going to talk about that point? Absolutely not. But let's find out. Let's find out. Maybe we're gonna find out that I'm wrong. Who knows? Let's see.
Affect the people at the bottom in terms of the percentage income that they would lose more than the people at the top. So it's what we call regressive, favoring the rich over the poor, as well as Sam said and many other people have said, raising inflation and really having a negative impact on the economy. But I think there were two things about Harris's announcement yesterday that are worth pointing out. The first is that unlike Trump, who seems to make policy kind of on the fly, wherever he is, IVF, we're going to pay for it, we may not pay for it, whatever, she's actually starting to come out with very detailed plans on housing, on taxes, on small business, and so forth. And so she's running a campaign with policy, unlike the former president, except for these off-the-cuff kinds of things. And secondly, her proposal would increase taxes on the wealthy, unlike Trump's, which would decrease taxes on the wealthy, try to get people to pay their...
Okay. It would increase taxes on the wealthy. Gee, who creates business? You've got people who are at the entry level of business creation, and then they become more wealthy as they grow their businesses, which allows them to hire more employees, to branch out their business, to make satellite offices, to go national with their businesses. Yeah, they end up becoming rich. So what they want to do is they want to disincentivize wealth So what? So we cannot grow businesses properly within the United States? Like once you hit a certain limit, you need to be punished for being an entrepreneur. Well, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like something a corporation might say, like something a corporation which does not have the United States citizens' best interests in mind. One would think that if we live in a society where you're paid for your labor, you're probably going to need a rich person involved to pay you and everyone else. And the people who hold the investments for the retirement packages, because if some of you have ever looked into your retirement packages, you may notice that there's a lot of stock trading going on with your contributions, which you have probably been putting in along with company matches to your 401k. Those are held by rich people and their companies, which run those stock trade operations. If you tax them at a higher rate, and in particular, if you start taxing them on unrealized gains, that's going to directly affect your retirement savings. There's going to be less of it. Because while you may not be a millionaire, the people who are handling your money are. And let's consider this. The way this is being marketed is that once you hit, like, what is it, that $1 million magic number? That's when these taxes kick in for these people. They're increasing wages. They're increasing property values substantially. When you start looking at the business of assets, people who are not living $1 million lifestyles can very quickly find themselves in a millionaire's bracket. The way that they are putting these rules together. Consider your assets. Your home? How many of you have noticed that your home has increased by about $100,000 over the past 3 years? You're paying property taxes on that, by the way, probably. You're probably paying, unless you have like a veteran exclusion or like some other kind of program where it like mitigates your tax liability. But your home is considered an asset. So you may not make, like, let's say you may not make $200,000 a year. You know, granted, that's just on your earnings. But what about your investments? What about your 401k? What if you take the cost of your home, the equity in your home, and you add it to the value of your current 401k, which is supposed to be there for your retirement, the sum of that. And then you add in your earnings, your paycheck. And let's say you have other, like, let's say you have dependencies on other social programs. Those can also be included into your revenue. So very quickly you can be classified as a millionaire based on these rules. Oh gee, you just fell into a new tax bracket. You didn't even know it.
Try to get people to pay their fair share and try to take a stab at addressing our deficit, which you and I have talked a lot about. Trump has no plan for that. And what you saw yesterday for Harris is the beginning of a plan for that.
Good. Let's talk about the first chart, blue states pay.
So generally.
So are we going to flesh out anything that they've just talked about? Are you guys really reporting the news, or are you just full out propagandists? I mean, I think I have this dream. I have this dream that for once, instead of just casting aspersions, they would back it up with receipts. Like real receipts, and show like real data and stuff like that, instead of going from topic to topic to topic to topic. You see, I don't have a cell phone. My attention span is focused on the topics at hand. And what I notice is that they go from topic to topic to topic to topic without ever fleshing it out. And that concerns me. All right. Good morning, speak kindly. So tariffs are taxes paid by other countries to sell their products in the USA. To a degree, one could interpret it that way. A tariff is the cost of doing business with a country, is what it is. And then that country can use that money for whatever infrastructure things they'd like to do. So, more or less, it's a tax the consumer doesn't have to pay. It's like the consumer will just notice that the price of a product will increase. However, you won't have to pay a sales tax on it or other liabilities, like other tax liabilities on it. It's like that's already built into the price at that point. The way that Donald Trump would be promoting it, that's how it would be. What you see is what you get. And then you as a consumer, not being taxed on that, having more money in your pocket, can make a much more informed decision. It's like, oh, this is the actual cost. And then plus it's driven by the market. What is the demand for that item? And if the market's not demanding it, then the country's not going to ship it, which means that we don't have warehouses full of rotting crap and cheap crap at that. So if the country isn't going to make any money off of their product, they're not going to the country would have to be very ignorant, or someone would have to be very, maybe not even very, there would have to be a certain amount of corruption going on if an international company actually knew that they were losing money on a shipping order and a fulfillment. It's highly unlikely that there would be anything nefarious going on behind the scenes. But yeah, more or less, it's a tax on the country who's trying to export their goods, and then the importer receives that benefit, and the citizens of that country receive that benefit.
So generally speaking, what I think most people don't understand is that if you look at sort of who gets and who gives among the states, you're going to find that the blue states give a lot more to Washington than they get from Washington, which is ironic given that you have a Republican president who in effect wants to reduce the disadvantage that the red states have and increase it for the blue states. But let's take a look at this chart. So if you look at the net of what people pay versus what they get, you see at the far end of the spectrum are all blue states. They pay more to Washington than they get from Washington. And if you look over here on the right, you'll see these are almost all red states, with the exception of Virginia and Maryland, which are kind of special cases because they have so much federal installations and military and so forth in their states. And so this is what you see happening. Most of this happens on the revenue side. Residents of blue.
Okay, I can tell you this. I see Minnesota in the negative of pays more taxes. This is an incorrect chart. I know for a fact, where's Texas on this? Because I know that we pay a shit ton more. Let's see, where is Texas? Let me get out my magnifying glass here. Texas is right after Florida on the uptick. No, we pay a lot more than Texas. Let me see, what is this? Balance of payments per capita by state receives more funds. I would imagine, living in Minnesota, the reason why is because we're not only, this is a misleading chart, because we have very high taxes in Minnesota. We pay a lot of green fees, like green energy fees and fuel surcharges, and we are taxed a lot here. What exactly is this indicating? Receives more funds, pays more taxes. This chart, who made this chart? Blue states pay, red states get. This is a misleading chart. This doesn't take into account local taxes. It doesn't, I think, are they only doing it for like what Washington receives? I think that's what they're doing here, is that's what he said. This doesn't represent the reality, though, of the situation when you look at it in a whole. if you actually looked at the taxation for everything, Minnesota would be very much into the thousands and not in the negatives. What exactly are they trying to... They're trying to fleece people with this chart. Let me see what this is. Go on. I'm interested.
Revenue side. Residents of blue states earn a lot more than residents of red states, so they pay a lot more in taxes, roughly $3,000 a year per capita difference between the blue states and the red states, but they don't get back anymore.
So, Steve, that's fascinating. So what you're saying is there's income redistribution here.
Well, exactly.
But the income redistribution is coming from blue states, and it is benefiting the very people that go around yammering about socialism all the time when they are the beneficiaries of income redistribution from blue states to red states. So if anybody is benefiting from a, quote, socialist redistribution scheme, how fascinating, it's mainly red states.
Joe, you said it better than I said. The blue
Let's back
states are
this
wealthier
up.
than the red
Let's
states.
back this
and so
up.
in our
Let's
system,
back
where
this
we
up.
try to make people more equal,
Because that was some
government has tilted
freaking
in
speech
favor of
voodoo
the
right there. That was some speech voodoo.
I think most
Back
people don't
this up.
understand is that if you look at sort of who gets and who gives among the states, you're going to find that the blue states give a lot more to Washington than they get from Washington, which is ironic given that you have a Republican president who, in effect, wants to reduce the disadvantage that the red states have and increase it for the blue states. But let's say...
Hello? We're talking about citizens here, though. It's like, if they're trying to say, like, for instance, that Minnesota does not give as much, like, that somehow Minnesota is not getting back enough, they're leaving out the part that they are taxing us like crazy and that the local governments are using a lot of our funds. It's like, and the wages in Minnesota are out of line with the economy. Like, people make way too much in Minnesota when it comes to, how do I even phrase this? It's like an entry-level job is equitable to what a professional should be paid. It's getting very close to that. Like, it's like living in Minnesota is like a disincentive to actually work towards a more professional career path, because the margin between an entry-level job and a job where you have worked for, let's say, over 10 years and you have experience is shrinking. That gap is shrinking, which means that our products, like our prices in this state are inflated. And then we're taxed on top of that at a high rate. So yes, Minnesotans make more. However, at the end of the day, their pockets are not flush with cash. We have a lot of social programs in Minnesota, which Minnesotans pay for with their tax dollars. So saying that blue states don't give as much to Washington, what is the argument you're making here? And that Washington redistributes it to the red states, that's interesting. So are you saying that Washington favors red states? Are you positing that statement? That Washington favors red states? If that is true, then why do they seem to campaign against red states if they love them so much? Something in the milk isn't clean here. This is word voodoo is what this is. And it's dishonest reporting they're choosing these stats which are convenient. However, they're not fleshing out the whole picture here. Okay, I'm going to hit play.
Increase it for the blue states. But let's take a look at this chart. So if you look at the net of what people pay versus what they get, you see at the far end of the spectrum are all blue states. They pay more to Washington than they get from Washington. And if you look over here on the right, you'll see these are almost all red states, with the exception of Virginia and Maryland, which are kind of special cases because they have so much federal installations and military and so forth in their states. And so this is what you see happening. Most of this happens on the revenue side.
Okay. He just made a point because they have more federal installations in those states. Well, you didn't start your argument with that. You just decided to throw that in there. You kind of told on yourself right there. Let's see. Texas has Fort Hood and it has El Paso. Florida has a couple, Navy bases. South Dakota, I don't know what's in South Dakota. Let's see if South Carolina's in there somewhere. South Carolina has Fort Jackson. Georgia has Fort Hood. Fort Gordon. I mean, you want to you just decided to conveniently enter in the information about these states having more federal installations. Well, now it's skewed your data. So, thank you for the information, but I must ask you, sir, what the fuck is your point?
The revenue side. Residents of blue states earn a lot more than residents of red states, so they pay a lot more in taxes, roughly $3,000 a year per capita difference between the blue states and the red states, but they don't get back anymore.
So, Steve, that's fascinating. So what you're saying is there's income redistribution here.
Well,
but
exactly.
The income redistribution is coming from blue states, and it is benefiting the very people that go around yammering about socialism all the time when they are the beneficiaries of income redistribution from blue states to red states. So if anybody is benefiting from a, quote, socialist redistribution scheme.
Except you just mentioned about the federal installations. So, Joe, you have to acknowledge what he just said about federal installations. You need to actually, since that information's been brought forward, it's fair game. You need to now discern which states and how much are receiving federal money for their federal installations. Because it's not just about the people right now. And I can see Mika over here. I think that Mika is concerned because I think in her deliciously surgeried plastic face, a little stroke there. I think she's realizing that. Maybe not. Maybe she just wants a cocktail.
Redistribution scheme. How fascinating. It's mainly red states.
Joe, you said it better than I said. The blue states are wealthier than the red states. And so in our system, where we try to make people more equal, yes, government has tilted in favor of the red states, the same government that Trump would like to reduce or dismantle.
Still ahead, we'll play for you a new ad from Republicans who are against Donald Trump's campaign.
Yeah, because guess what would happen if you dismantled that? You'd have less of a need for Washington to be getting taxes from the federal branch of the government to redistribute. We're not going to talk about the IRS, are we? We're not going to talk about what goes into taxation. We're not going to talk about the Federal Reserve of any of that, are we, on Morning Joe? We're not going to talk about all that because that's not the narrative we want to sell you. We want to sell you Trump bad, Kamala good. But we don't actually want to break down the mechanics. And the mechanics go even deeper than what I've been talking about this morning. It's like I'm leaving things out and I'm well aware of it. There is so much that goes into it. You can't just throw up this chart of saying, oh, this is what, this is how much the states are paying to the Fed. It's like, it needs breakdown. You need more data. It's like, where is this money coming from and which programs is it going to? Which sectors is it going to? And then as he spilled the beans right in the middle of his presentation, he goes, well, with the exception of Virginia and this other blue state right here that, have like really high kickbacks from the government, but that's because they have federal installations. It's like, well, then you need to be honest. You need to be very honest. All right, let's see, where are we? Going through the commercials. Let's see. Okay. Let's see what these people are talking about.
Also features more than 80 billboards showing former Trump voters from swing states saying they'll now vote
Good
for
morning,
Harris
Mr. Tizio.
over the former president. Joining us now, Sarah Longwell, Executive Director of Republican Voters Against Trump. She's also the publisher of The Bulwark. Sarah, where exactly will this new ad run? And tell us more about it. What's the strategy behind it?
Yes, we're launching in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nebraska, too, which are some of the key states where we think that Kamala Harris is going to need to overperform in order to defeat Donald Trump. And the strategy is very simple. You have got to build a permission structure for Republicans, soft GOP voters, right-leaning independents, people who are maybe voted for Donald Trump. And in fact, everybody in our campaign has voted for Donald Trump at least once, in many cases twice. But they're out on him. And what we've seen, I do focus groups all the time with voters. And one of the things we've seen is a tremendous openness from some Trump voters. Many of them are the kind of sort of Obama-Trump voters back from 2016. They tend to be people who only tune in right around now as the election gets really close. And we've seen a tremendous openness to voting for Kamala Harris. People are interested. They want to hear more about what she stands for. They want to learn more. Many of them don't know that much about her, even though
Are you serious? Are you serious? So we have these Trump voters who have historically voted for Trump, and they want to vote for Kamala right now. They want to get to know her. They really don't know much about her, but they want to vote for her. Really, sweetie? Really? Are you telling a lie? Is Satan going to take your soul? I think so. All right, but I'm not one to judge. I'm not one to judge. I'm just saying that you sound like you might be talking out your ass on this one. You sound like you're full of bullshit. You sound like you might have a little bullshit, sweetie. Little bullshit. All right, but please continue.
don't know that much about her, even though she was the vice president of the United States. And so they're getting to meet her for the first time. And so what we're doing is taking Republican voices, Trump voting voices, and elevating them so that is a signal, basically, as a permission structure for other Republican voters who are Kamala curious to say, you know what, just because I voted for Trump or just because I identify as a Republican, I'm interested in voting for Kamala Harris. And I'm going to do it because Donald Trump either presents such a threat, or I'll tell you, actually what we hear from a lot of these voters more than anything else is people are bored by Trump. They're bored with all of the drama. They're tired of the insults. They're tired of the lies about the election. They want to know, what is somebody going to do for them? They want to know how they're going to handle the economy, handle inflation, and they're interested in a new pitch. And that's what Kamala Harris has for them.
Yes.
Hell no. Hell no. I am not interested in what Kamala's selling. No, 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 no. Oh, hell no. I am not. I voted for Obama, and the second time I did not vote for Obama, and then Trump came around, and I was like, oy vey. I was like, oh my word. I was like, I do not like this guy. I do not like this guy. I do not like this guy. But I was like, but I like his policies. I was like, because he was really in my face and a lot of people's faces about what he was going to do. And I was like, you know, I have been seeing kids at Pride, like at the Pride events. And that was right around the time. It was like, it's like, you know, under Obama, I have been noticing that the adults in the gay community they've been gravitating toward the kids, and I don't like that. And it's like, and I have been noticing that something's going wrong in Denmark. It's like, not Denmark, the actual place, but just, you know, just the phrasing. It's like something's rotten in Denmark, and it's like, I don't want more of that. It's like, also during Obama, Bruce and I are involved in small dog rescue. And when Obama's Obamacare kicked in and they started penalizing people for not having health insurance, our shelter was over flooded it was like we could not take in the number of people who had to give up their pets. And one of the things on our forum, when a person is surrendering their pet, we ask them, why are you surrendering your pet? And so many people, like, gosh, at least 82 out of like maybe 120 some odd surrenders, around a little over 80 of them were because I can't afford my pet anymore due to Obamacare. Because we would go out and meet these people after they submit their form, because we have to go and collect their small dog. And they start telling us stories like, I'm having problems with my relationship, I can't afford the medical insurance, it's like I can't afford to keep my dog and also pay these bills. And that was under the Obama administration. When the Trump administration came in, I watched, and this is just from a dog shelter's point of view, our applications for surrenders went back to normal. Like a couple surrenders a month. People were able to feed their pets again. Like within a year of Trump coming back in, it's like we didn't have that heartbreak of having to, because we're no kill. And during the Obama years, we had to surrender dogs to kill shelters. And that was very taxing at an emotional scale, because I love dogs. It's like I didn't, like before Bruce, I did not care for dogs. I was a cat person. I was a single, very, very single cat person. Very much fitting the stereotype. Very much just an awful individual all the way around. Now, that's not saying that you people out there who enjoy cats, it's not a dig. I'm delivering some comedy on this. Bruce said one day, it's like, how do you feel about getting 2 miniature schnauzers? And I was like, and then I met him. Oh my gosh. And I was sitting on somebody's living room floor, and this little schnauzer, this little like 8-week-old schnauzer, like came walking up to me with the big old paws and the big old head and the big old ears and everything like that. And she sat down in my lap, and I fell in love with this dog. And so we adopted her sister and her. And shortly after that, within a couple of months, I was a volunteer for the small dog no-kill shelter, because I had fallen in love with small dogs. They are awesome, awesome, awesome pets. And during the Obama administration, people could not afford their pets. So there's that. So yeah, long story. Good morning, misinformation again. Oh, let's see. Has anyone else come in? Okay, I don't see you. You might be lurking out there, but I don't see you right now. But good morning, if I don't see you. That almost brought a tear to my eye, because just recently we had to put Linty down. So now another grave marker has been created, and now I have 2 gravestones in the backyard. Because yeah, I'm one of those people. It's like, I don't just go out and get a placard. I actually go out and contract with an actual burial marker maker, and they make the big granite markers, and because I'm crazy. All right.
Has for them.
Yeah, Sarah, I'd add the word exhausted. So many Republicans are using that word too to describe Trump. So one of the major.
Oh yeah, back to what they're bitching about over here, trying to say that people are exhausted with the drama and stuff like that. Who's causing the drama? Where's the drama coming from, bitch? It's like, you want to talk about we're tired of the drama. It's like, you know what? I will tell you this. I am tired of hearing about it, but I'm not tired of my soul. I am not tired of my conviction. I know what they're trying to do coming from the left. I know exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to wear people down. They're trying to wear down people's resolve. They're trying to get people to like second guess their core values. They're trying to get people to accept methods of living which are most deviant, and trying to make tolerances and stuff like that. Now I sit in front of you guys, and you guys may know this and everything. It's like, that I'm not hetero. That I am far from. It's like if you guys know my history, You guys know that I am no one to emulate when it comes to certain aspects of life. Yet I don't preach my lived experience and say, oh, you should accept me for who I am. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You do not have to accept me for who I am. Absolutely not. It's like, as long as you're not stabbing me in the throat or you're like trying to burn me or something like that, we're fine and stuff like that, because it's like, I am not promoting my lifestyle. That is not about what my message is. I am here to point out what the left is doing and how they're doing it and how they can be very crafty about doing it. Case in point, how many of you have either done this or have heard someone do this regarding the latest school shooter? How many of you have called that child a tranny? How many of you have heard someone else call that child a tranny? I posit this question to you. Since when are children transgender? I question. Because I'll tell you what, right now, that shooting is a trap. It is a trap to get people to admit that children can be transgender. That's part of the trap. There are other aspects to this trap, because don't tell me that that child just went and did that all by himself. But it's a trap. It's being used to condition society into using that phrasing. So be careful. Be very careful.
One of the major flaws with polling in recent cycles is there seems to be an undercount of Trump supporters. In part, people theorize because some are unwilling to admit to a pollster like, hey, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. But do you think this time around we might have the opposite effect, where there may be some Republicans who might not be willing to acknowledge to a pollster or to friends and family, like, you know what, I'm not going to vote Republican this time around. I'm going to vote for the Democratic nominee. But then actually when it comes to the ballot box, the privacy of the ballot box, push the button for Harris.
Yeah, and I think this is especially true of sort of working class women, where you'd be surprised how many of them are thinking about this race in sort of an entirely new frame. They like Kamala Harris. I mean, we're seeing with sort of non-college, white working class women, a real openness to her. Now, some of it has to do with abortion as an issue, but a lot of it is that they just feel like she's for them, is something that we say, that she seems normal. They like the choice of Tim Walz as the vice president. And so they're not 100% there yet, though. I sort of want to be clear that what they're saying is, I'm interested, I'm listening. Although in other cases, we are seeing people who voted for Trump in the focus groups. We just did one recently. I think you guys might have some sound from it, where the entire group had voted for Trump previously, and every single one of them was going to vote for Harris. And a lot of it, too, was the contrast that they see between her message as being optimistic and uplifting and Donald Trump's being doom and gloom. And that exhaustion is in there. They're just like, I'm tired of this, and I like the idea of something new.
Executive Director of Republican Voters Against Trump and publisher of The Bulwark, Sarah Longwell, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning with that. Coming up, Editor-in-Chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, joins us to discuss his new book entitled On Heroism, McCain, Milley, Mattis, and the Cowardice of Donald Trump. That's straight ahead on Morning Joe Weekend.
Mom, with these sandwiches, I'm gonna be the coolest guy in the lunchroom. I need to practice my cool guy greetings. Sup. Sup. Sup.
You know, she was just talking about how Trump is all about doom and gloom and Kamala has a vibe. I'll tell you how I interpret that. Kamala is like a surgeon who comes in and doesn't give you any anesthesia before making that first cut and laughs at you as you struggle. Trump is the kind of surgeon who comes in, or a doctor, if you will, and says, oh, you don't need surgery. It's almost like getting a second opinion. What you need is you need to change your diet. or you need to change your exercise routine, or you need to adjust something in your life that will correct the situation. And with Kamala, there's no, what is the word I'm looking for, or phrase I'm looking for? There's no recourse if what she does to you harms you. And with Trump, from my observation, you do have recourse. Like, there is a liability that you can fall back on and use to protect yourself if you are harmed in the, the course of events. I'd rather hear from somebody who's telling me what's going on around me than listen to someone who is just giving me a false sense of security. So I'm not tired of hearing from Trump. I'm tired of being lied to. That's my take on that.
Want what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are selling.
Don't miss the weekend, Saturday and Sunday mornings at 8
on MSNBC.
He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He is a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you. Do you agree with that? He's a war hero because he was captured, okay?
Donald Trump's infamous moment in 2015 when, as a candidate, he disparaged Senator John McCain's status as a war hero. Those comments open up the new book by editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, entitled On Heroism, McCain, Milley, Mattis, and the Cowardice of Donald Trump. And Jeffrey joins us now. Thank you for being on. Congratulations on the book.
Yeah, congratulations, Jeff. We're going to get to the book in 1 minute. I do want to underline something that I saw you talk about on Washington Week. Of course, since you started hosting it, more people watch that than watch the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. It's really changed the landscape of everything we do. Kids get it.
He does a really good job at the weave.
He does the weave, and you notice kids in school.
Okay, while they're babbling, I'm just going to question: are we not allowed to critique? Are we not allowed to critique? Do they have a problem with the criticism?
So you made a point to your the Weavers. He's also a folk fan. Yeah. So Jeff, you made the point to your guests that Donald Trump will be brutish at Arlington, going places that no other politician has gone. He will have bizarre tweets daily that suggest he's deeply unwell. He will flip-flop on issues like abortion and immigration and just about everything else, lie constantly. And yet the media will pretend like this is 1996 and it's Clinton Dole, and they'll go, yes, but Kamala Harris had Tim Walz with her in her first interview. And this is, I noticed the pace of, and I hate criticizing the mainstream media because mainly they do things right, but there is almost a desperation for them to pretend this race is like every other race. And the false moral equivalency is getting pretty bad. And we're just 1 day past Labor Day. Talk about that, if you will.
Yeah, no, I mean, this really struck me. I mean, it should have struck all of us about 9 years ago.
Wait a minute, we're just 1 day past Labor Day. When was Labor Day? Hold on. When was Labor Day in 2024? Are we talking about the past? Okay, that was September 2nd. Today is September 8th. Let me just back up a little bit, because did I miss something in the context? Let me see.
He will flip-flop on issues like abortion and immigration and just about everything else, lie constantly, and yet the media will pretend like this is 1996 and it's Clinton Dole, and they'll go, yes, but Kamala Harris had Tim Walz with her in her first interview.
Yeah.
And this is, I noticed the pace of, and I hate criticizing the mainstream media because mainly they do things right, but there is almost a desperation for them to pretend this race is like every other race. And the false moral equivalency is getting pretty bad. And we're just one day past Labor Day. Talk about that, if you will.
Yeah, no, I mean, this really struck me. I mean, it should have struck all of us about 9 years ago, right? But it really struck me when he did his long soliloquy on batteries, electricity, and sharks. Remember that? Oh, yeah. Whether to be...
Okay, we're going to go back to electricity and sharks. Okay, for context, Joe was referring to the interview with Kamala and Tim from last week. For a moment, I thought that this was filmed the day after Labor Day, and I was like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be live.
Spent 10 minutes on stage randomly talking about whether, first of all, he doesn't even understand how batteries work and how stored energy works. And if he spent last week talking about how
wait a minute.
People don't eat bacon anymore because of windmills. That's not normal.
They're showing an old clip.
It's not normal, and we can't.
This is an old clip.
And so
this is from last week.
Standard. Kamala Harris, we parsed.
You know what? I bet if I went in, well, actually, I delete the videos, but I can guarantee you this segment that they're showing on MSNBC right now is from last week.
And especially fine in a normal circumstance. But here we have a situation where she's talking about things within a normal bandwidth of political discussion, and he's saying abnormal things, and we're treating them the same, and there's two different races going on, and there's two very different kind of candidates. I'm just saying, let's just say what it is, which is this person is outside the bandwidth of what politicians have been like through our modern era.
And by the way, that's not an argument against holding Kamala Harris accountable for what she said she believed in 2019 and what she believes now. It's an argument for holding Donald Trump to the same standard, obviously.
Right.
We touched on this Arlington flap of last week, where
with Donald Trump, his core values and his message has been consistent. With Kamala Harris, her core values are absent.
Last week, where the United States Army, not some liberal podcaster or something, confirmed that the Trump campaign physically pushed aside somebody who works at Arlington, who, by the way, tells you everything about it, did not want to be named or press charges.
They're still doing this?
The backlash or the hate.
No, they're playing this, but this is from last week. The families, the Gold Star families, have come out and said what happened at Arlington Cemetery. And then what also happened last week is the internet was scrubbed of the 2016 Biden presidential campaign, which showed Joe Biden at Arlington Cemetery in 2010. They used footage from 2010 and put it in a 2016 presidential campaign. And then, at the end, it said, paid for by, whatever, for Biden for president, whatever that was. When that was pointed out, that video was taken off. The original 2016 video, which referenced Joe Biden in Arlington Cemetery from 2010, was removed. I went searching through archives trying to find it, and the only places where I'm able to find it was Walk Don't Run was able to get the original video embedded into his video. If you guys are familiar with Walk Don't Run, that you can only find that video now from what I have gleaned. That video only exists in other people's videos who showed that video. So this is from last week. I don't know why they're showing last week's news, but I'm gonna fast forward up. Maybe we can get to more current things, because I'm currently running about 10 minutes behind the live MSNBC. So let me get up to date and let's see what they're talking about. All right.
And so seamless. I could work out, I could run,
See?
I could dance, I could do
They
anything.
use attractive
It's fun,
women.
It's beautiful, it's supportive.
Free 30-day returns. Shop now at honeylove.com.
See, someone earlier was like, they don't use attractive women in commercials. Well, there was a bra commercial, and that woman was attractive, and she was bouncing up and down.
I was forced to leave my state to get life-saving care. Ted Cruz wanted me to wait until that baby died in my womb or died in my arms. I just can't stay silent anymore. Colin Allred will keep government out of women's medical.
Okay, so that baby dying in my womb or dying in my arms. Okay, so the baby wasn't dead, and the baby possibly might have died, but that wasn't an absolute what? It wasn't dead at the moment, so you killed it. Okay, for whatever reason. Like, are we going to get in? Are we going to, like, are we just going to know your business? Are you just going to spill your business? I mean, you've already gone this far. It's like, can you give us the details? Not that I really want to hear the gory details. However, at the same time, I seek truth. Do you want to give us the details, ma'am? I feel for you, but you went there. So let's go.
Of women's medical decisions. Colin Allred knows that the conversation between a woman and her doctor is sacred and private.
That's a new
Then why are you
campaign
telling
ad
everyone your
in one of
business?
the most watched Senate races in this election cycle. Democrats are hoping Congressman Colin Allred can flip Texas blue and send incumbent Senator Ted Cruz packing in November. Congressman Allred is doubling down on reproductive rights in Texas in the wake of the state's near-total abortion ban currently in effect. Two recent polls in Texas show Cruz leading Allred by just 2 percentage points. It's close. And Congressman Allred joins us now. Thank you very much, Congressman, for being on the show. Looking at that ad, I take it abortion is playing a big role in your campaign and in this election. What are you hearing on the campaign trail?
Well, it is playing a big role, Mika, because it's a huge issue for us here in Texas. And Austin, who was in that ad, she is a dear friend of mine. She's a wonderful person. She's an OBGYN herself. Her husband is an OBGYN, and she's a multi-generation Texan. And she grew up near me in Dallas, and she had to leave her state to get the care she needs. And this is a story.
Okay, I'm just looking into his veneers. I'm looking at his veneers. And I'm wondering why he had his canines shaped into fangs. That's curious to me because clearly those are veneers, and he had instructed his dentist to give him fangs. Look at him. I mean, I'm just saying, not to detract from what he's saying, but I just noticed something on a cosmetic level. He has fangs. Interesting. At his age, they should be much more blunted, not so pointy. I mean, he's no spring chicken.
Leave her state to get the care she needs. And this is a story that's playing out every single day here in our state. And Ted Cruz is singularly responsible for this abortion ban. He put the judges on the district courts, the circuit courts, and the Supreme Court who did this. He also backed, often in primaries, the state legislators who passed these bans at the state level. When he called for these bans, he supported them, and he actually wants to go further and ban things like IVF and access to certain forms of birth control. And so this is having horrific consequences here in Texas. So it's a huge political issue. It's also a deeply personal one.
Hi, Colin, it's Molly Johnfast. I wanted to ask you a question about sometimes in red states, like what we saw in Kansas with Governor Brownback, that a red state that is pushed too far will sometimes revolt. And again, Democrats have hoped that the state is becoming more purple. But there is also a phenomenon where a red state just says it's enough from, So talk to me about what you're seeing on the ground as you're running for Senate there.
Yeah. Well, as you know, Molly, I say that we're a non-voting state, and we have to change that. But it is true that Texans are waking up to just how extreme the rhetoric that Ted Cruz of his over the last 12 years is now that it's becoming law and policy. And it's playing out in such a personal way for so many different Texans. And in many ways, the Democratic National Convention was about what was happening in Texas. It was about women's reproductive rights being taken away. It was about that we have to have a secure border where Ted Cruz has prevented us from doing that. And so Texans are waking up that we don't have to have a senator that we're embarrassed by. We get a new one who has been the most bipartisan Texan in Congress, one who has a record of getting things done, one who was raised by a single mom here, went to our public schools, made it to Baylor in the NFL, and wants to serve our entire state instead of spending his time pitting us against each other.
Congressman, good morning. You just briefly touched upon the border. Let's go a little deeper on that. I mean, immigration, of course, a signature issue this campaign. And you mentioned the DNC, and that was a moment where, in earnest, Democrats, led by Vice President Harris, said, look, we had a bill. We're ready to sign the bill. Let's make this law. It was Donald Trump who told Republicans to scuttle it. Is that resonating there in Texas? Talk to us about the state of play just at the border in terms of crossings and how people feel about it.
Yeah. Well, listen, my family's from Brownsville, Texas. That's the very tip of Texas. My grandfather was a customs officer there. That's where my mom and my aunt were born and raised. I spent a lot of my childhood there, and I was just in the Valley. And I can tell you that folks are tired of Ted Cruz coming down and treating the Valley like he's on a safari. You know what you do on safari? You put on your outdoor clothing and you go see the sights. You know, you look through your binoculars and then you leave and you do nothing about it because it's not your responsibility. Well, that's how he comes down to South Texas. He comes down, he points out problems, he puts on his outdoor clothing and wants to look tough, and then he goes back to D.C. and he stops legislation.
Wait a minute. If Ted Cruz has been doing this, then explain to me why Biden put an embargo on Texas when it came to liquid natural gas. And if Ted Cruz is so ineffective, and if the politicians, the conservative politicians from Texas, are so ineffective, then why did President Biden punish them and the citizens of Texas so harshly if they're ineffective? If they're just coming down for safari? If they're just coming down to look around and then do nothing? If they were doing nothing, then why did the Biden administration punish them? Weird.
And he stops legislation that would have brought $20 billion for border security. And you know, no state would have gotten more of that than Texas. No state would have benefited more than that from Texas. And so for a Texas senator, that should have been a top priority. We have to have one who will do that. And that's what I'll do. We know he won't.
All right.
Democratic candidate for Senate in Texas, Congressman Colin Allred. Thank you very much for coming on the show today. That's it for us.
Did he just say, yeah, that's me? One moment. Let's back up a little bit. And let's increase the volume a little bit. Because it sounded like he said, after he heard his name, he's like, yeah, that's me.
Binoculars, and then you leave and you do nothing about it because it's not your responsibility. Well, that's how he comes down to South Texas. He comes down, he points out problems, he puts on his outdoor clothing and wants to look tough, and then he goes back to D.C. and he stops legislation that would have brought $20 billion for border security. And you know, no state would have gotten more of that than Texas. No state would have benefited more than that from Texas. And so for a Texas senator, that should have been a top priority. We have to have one who will do that. And that's what I'll do. We know he won't.
All right.
Democratic candidate for Senate in Texas, Congressman Colin Allred. Thank you very much for coming on the show today. That's it for us this weekend. Join us again tomorrow morning.
I don't know if he said, yeah, that's me, or if he said, yeah, thanks, Mika. I need a forensics up in here because it sounded a lot like he's like, yeah, that's me. I don't know if that's what he said or not. That's how my brain translated it. That might be my own internalized bias and shit. All right, let's see what's coming up next.
That's it for us this weekend. Join us again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Eastern for a brand new week of Morning Joe. Until then, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks, Mika. Thanks, Mika. You're crazy. By the way, Mika, all that surgery you just had, holy hell, you might want to go talk to your surgeon because crow's feet galore, girl. Okay, let's see what they're talking about here.
2 days until a pivotal debate that could shape the closing 2 months of the 2024 presidential campaign. And this morning, we are learning more about Vice President Harris's post-debate plans. Plus, Donald Trump...
Misinformation, I think you got... Yeah. Gosh.
We are monitoring a manhunt in Kentucky after several people were shot.
Oh, no.
And a major interstate was shut down overnight. We have a lot to cover on a busy Sunday morning. Welcome to the weekend. All right, breaking this morning, the Harris-Walz campaign just released their post-debate game plan.
And Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz will embark on a battleground blitz after Tuesday's presidential debate. Harris will visit North Carolina on Thursday and then back to Pennsylvania on Friday. Now, Walz will focus on shoring up the blue wall with stops in Michigan and Wisconsin. And the candidates' spouses will meet with voters in Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Maine, Nevada, and New Hampshire. And with the debate just 2 days away, Harris met with voters yesterday in Pennsylvania. She took a break, from debate prep. She went out and
Penzeys Spices. I did not know this. Penzeys Spices. Anti-Republican. Let me go pull up Penzeys Spices quickly here. I did not know this until yesterday. Penzeys Spices. I am never buying Penzeys Spices again. Homepage, Penzeys. All right, let's see. Trail bags, accessories, accessories, about us, it's real. Oh my gosh. I was hoping that maybe I would wake up and that wasn't real, but I'm never buying Penzeys again. Here I am at the Penzeys site. Okay, right there, Penzeys. Look at this, about Republicans. About Republicans on the Penzeys Spice homepage. As we've now said on our first ever About Us page on the website, there's something unique about humankind's relationship with spices that time and again have caused spices to be driving force of change. We live in a time calling out for a change and solutions to the very real problems our country and our planet face. There's two different futures ahead of us, totally dependent on whether we solve these problems or not. With so much at stake, we feel obligated to use this unique position spices hold in our lives to try to help promote the solutions of these problems as best we can. This is all coming from Penzeys Spices website, their page, okay? I have been a customer, a long-time customer of Penzeys Spices. No more, no more. Watching the slow decline of the Republican Party over the last half century and the steep decline bottom falling out over the last decade, it can be easy to see the nonsense that has taken the party over as pretty much random, it is easy to see the nonsense that has taken the party as pretty much random. Once you start seriously looking at the problems America and the world face and who and what are standing in the way of solving these problems, it quickly becomes clear there is nothing random to what the Republicans are promoting. The Republican departure from conservative values, and now mind you, they're branding this as the Republican Party, and I don't think they're talking about the Republican Party because I know I am not a Republican. I am a conservative. I'm more of a constitutionalist. It's like I know that what they're talking about, this dynamic, they're not talking about Republicans. They're talking about constitutionalists. They're talking about people who want to make America great again. All right, the Republican departure from conservative values and embrace of what, from a distance, looks like a whole lot of it, like insanity, didn't happen by chance. All of it has been intelligently crafted with the goal of preserving the position of those who profit from the inhumanity that is at the very roots of pretty much every problem we are facing. From the environment to racism, discrimination, to health, to saving our democracy at home and growing it abroad, half the time Republicans are intentionally blocking the solution to the problems we face. The other half of the time, they are the problem we face. Because we don't want slave labor. Well, guess who picks those spices for Penzeys? The truth of our time is we're arriving at a point where there's no way to respect the nonsense the Republican Party is promoting and have any hope of overcoming the problems as a nation and as a planet face. Given the choice between saving America and planet Earth or saving the feelings of Republican voters, we are choosing to side with saving our country and our world. I'm sorry it's come to this. And there is no hate in any of this. There is a whole lot of propaganda at the heart of much of how Republican voters have been steered away from the conservative values to what they now seem all too happy to vote for. The thing to remember about propaganda is that it just isn't to misinform. It also works to make people immune from the truth by convincing them any facts that counter their propaganda are nothing more than hate. but we really have no hate for Republican voters. None at all. You lie. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. Remember, when you distrust of big city types and your deep-rooted beliefs in paying your debts, respecting your marriage, raising kids, willing to serve, honoring your word, and going to church every week, you had voting for Donald Trump over Joe Biden, all because of Biden's son had a computer, which we were told was Russian disinformation, pansies, which affected and it had direct implications on people's decisions on who they voted for, pansies. It was an interference in the election process and brought into question things about Russian freaking hacking and a whole bunch of misdirects, pansies. Let me start that over again. Let me start from the top on that. Remember from the paragraph. Remember when your distrust of big city types and your deep-rooted beliefs in paying your debts, respecting your marriage, raising kids, willing to serve, honoring your word, and going to church every week had you voting for Donald Trump over Joe Biden, all because Biden's son had a computer. And it was much more than that. It was much more than that. Or how you couldn't vote for Hillary because she was overprepared and used emails. You're leaving some stuff out there, pansies. People died over that stuff. There were a lot of kids trafficked. That's being referenced in what you're just casually putting in this statement, this anti-Republican statement, pansies. There's a whole lot of baggage to unpack with what you're currently putting out in this statement, pansies, spices. And I loved your spices. You know what? I will grow my own. Thank you very much. I'll grow my own. I don't need to depend on some slave labor to go and get my spices. I'll make my own damn cinnamon. I will grow a damn cinnamon bark on some whatever tree that the fucking cinnamon bark grows on. I will propagate a sapling and make my own damn cinnamon. Or how you couldn't vote for Hillary because she was overprepared and used emails. I know to you your actions seem rational and in keeping with your values, but when it comes to voting, you are now consistently voting in people who are the exact opposite of you and the values you hold dear. Bitch, please, you just omitted a whole bunch of facts. Nice try on your manipulation. You. I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. What does any of this mean? Going forward, we would still be glad to have you as customers. You can go fuck right off. I'm sure you would be glad to take our money. I'm sure you would. And like I said, I don't consider myself a Republican. However, you have lost a customer because of your stance on this, because you are a liar. You lied, and I don't tolerate liars. And I boycott you. I hereby boycott pansies. It's like, fuck you. Okay, but we're done pretending the Republican Party's embrace of cruelty, racism, COVID lies, climate change denial, and threats to democracy are anything other than the risks are legitimately are. If you need us to pretend you are not creating the hurt you are creating in order for you to continue to be our customer, I'm sad to say you might be happier elsewhere. Bye, Felicia. Bye. Oh my word. If, on the other hand, you still want the best spices and don't need us to respect what you vote. If, on the other hand, you still want the best spices and don't need us to respect what you now vote for to be our customer, hooray! We are happy to have you here. But know that we will, on a regular basis, try to wake you up from this dream that has you believing there is anything conservative left at all to what the Republican Party has become. A lot of us left the Republican Party. The thing is this, is that in your statement, you've lied repeatedly by omission. I don't care about Penzi. I don't care about your stance on Republicans as much as I do that you're lying and you're misinforming. And that's shitty of you, Penzis. That's what sucks. That's why I'm no longer going to be your customer. Party has become, we can work and will work without Republicans to solve the problems we face. But it sure would be nice to get back to a time where Republicans were equal defenders of equality, the environment, and democracy. We look forward to that day. Thanks for reading. Thanks for being here. Bill. Mr. Tizio, thank you so much for the cookie. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Again, good morning, Ohio, Kimmy. Good morning. Again, this is directly from Penzi's website about Republicans right here. You want to go check it out? You think I'm lying? I don't think you guys are thinking I'm lying. But here, just so you know, I didn't alter the source because, you know, you could go into this thing and let's see, I could go and say, let's see, view page source, and I could go like that, bring this in, go and do this. I could have done this if I were a dishonest person. Oh, shit. I forgot to change the scenes, guys. I was reading from this. I'm sorry. I wish somebody would have told me I was on the wrong scene. I was on this page for Penzi's. And then if you look like right here, it says about Republicans. And this is what I was reading to you. I was reading this whole dissertation from this guy named Bill, who apparently, I don't know, let's see, is Bill the, let's see, about us. What if your business, just by being itself could make a whole lot of problems the world faces a chunk easier to solve? Given that possibility, wouldn't you owe it to everyone to try and do your best? And then some customer statements. And then all these are like written by this guy named Bill. So yeah, Penzi Spices. I'm totally boycotting them. And again, not because they're anti-Republican, but because they lied. It's a lie by omission. And they lied so much by omission and misinformed. So bye, Penzis. It's nice to know you. I'm going to just grow my own shit. I'll grow my own shit. Thank you. Ohio, Kimmy, that's such a cute Pepe. That's a very, very nice sunrise, Pepe. All right. You guys ready for some more AIDS? Let's go get some more AIDS. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to fast forward through this commercial. I think these people have AIDS too. All right. Let's go over here. All right. Let's find out what these guys are talking about. They're bitching about something.
App now.
Donald Trump delivered a new broad warning Saturday to anyone who engages in unscrupulous behavior.
You mean like Penzi's?
Campaign. We don't usually read Trump's rants from his social media site on this show, but I do want you to hear his words this time. Trump writes in part, quote, "The 2024 election, where votes have just started being cast, will be under the closest professional scrutiny, and when I win, those people that cheated will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which
as they should
include long-term prison sentences so that this depravity of justice does not happen again."
Absolutely, as they should be.
This legal exposure extends to lawyers, political operatives, donors, illegal voters, and corrupt election officials. Those
sounds good to me.
involved in unscrupulous behavior will be sought out, caught, and prosecuted at levels, unfortunately, never seen before in our country.
Now,
And
that part right there,
joining us now,
that part right there,
MSNBC legal analyst.
I am concerned about. If Trump actually ever did say that, I want more information. So I don't think I've heard the information from Trump as to what that entails, but I would want that information from Donald Trump. What's he talking about? Be clear, because, you know, we don't take any prisoners up in here. It's like, I want to know, President Trump, tell us, what do you exactly mean by that?
Or warning about actually come to pass if he is a re-elected president?
So yes, yes, and yes. So it does read like intimidation. Like, you are allowed to have poll watchers, to have individuals who are there to protect the integrity.
And by the way, good morning, Major Adams. Good morning. All right, let's go back to this. Good morning.
Who are there to protect the integrity of elections, to answer questions from prospective voters as they're standing in line to vote. None of that is untoward. What is untoward is threatening to prosecute people for doing that sort of protocol, which is to ensure the right to vote. So there may actually be some legal problems. He may want to get a lawyer for that part of it.
Let them bring up Crystal Mason. Let them bring up the case of Crystal Mason in Texas, the woman who was found guilty of federal tax fraud. Let them bring that story up, because they totally misrepresented that story yesterday and left out that she was not able to vote and that her mother told her to go vote. And they were trying to spin that yesterday on MSNBC as if there was nothing that would have stopped her legally from casting a provisional ballot, which after I did an live during the episode, I went and actually looked it up and found out she was indeed still on probation and had not been cleared to vote. All right, let them bring up that story. And over here we have misinformation going and gifting a cookie. Thank you very much. Said, I finally figured out what LFG means. I thought it meant looking for group. This whole entire time, up until last week, I thought it meant looking for group. And I was like, oh, why are these people always looking for group? And then it dawned on me, it means let's fucking go. So misinformation says, let's fucking go. Jail for cheaters. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's continue.
He may want to get a lawyer for that part of it. But again, I think this is intended to deter individuals who might go out to the polls to do poll watching. Organizations like the NAACP, which does this on a regular basis during the election cycle, to deter them from doing that and to make clear that if he is successful, there will be consequences for those who try and secure the vote.
Okay, you or me?
I mean, the body language is telling me you, so go ahead.
No, folks, this is already happening. It's already happening. I give you Georgia. Look at what the legislature has done in Georgia. Look at what they're doing in other states. Donald Trump is just layering in. The platform is being created for everything he just said in that tweet. It's already being created. And the fact of the matter is, just stop and just for a moment, let's just go to Fantasyland 101 and pretend that the Democratic nominee for President of the United States issued that warning. What the heck do you think people will be talking about this morning?
What the heck do you think we've been talking about? You didn't just issue the warning. Your side, the progressive. Okay. All right. Let me be real. I don't know if you are actually a 100% progressive lefty outside of this venue because you're an actor right now. I get that. You can separate the person from the actor. You're an asshole for playing the part you play. You're definitely a creep. That I will say with all certainty. Outside of this, I do not know you. I do not follow you. I do not any of that. So I do not know you as a person. Only God knows your soul. I will put that out there right now. I will say this, however. You want to talk about how people would respond if a Democrat did it. Toby, listen to me. They're already doing it and have been doing it. What are you talking about if they did it? It's been done. We've been fighting against it. We've been noticing it. The fuck are you talking about? What if a Democrat did it? Child.
Be talking about this morning. How much noise would there be in this across this country that a Democratic president for candidate for president has threatened workers, poll workers, has threatened voters? And I'm finished up and I'm gonna give.
Shut the door. Shut up. Holy shit. It's like they don't think that we remember what we've been through for the past 3 to 4 years. They don't think that we have any memory of what they did to people, poll workers and citizens, whether it was censorship, threats, bribes, oppression, full out imprisonment. I mean, just holy shit on a Sunday morning. Do you hear this shit? Do you hear it? And this, oh my word.
I'm finished up, and I'm gonna give it to you. I'm so sick and tired of people just passing this crap off from this man as if it's just Donald Trump. He don't mean it. He's just talking. They're already laying the platform for this.
So, a Democratic.
Yes, because justice will be served. Absolutely. You medically experimented on people. Your side medically experimented on children. Your side has lost over 250,000 children in this botched immigration bullshit that you're promoting. Your side has started several wars, and now as of yesterday, I'm hearing we might be entering into some sort of war scenario with the Sudanese because of some famine which they're experiencing in the Sudan, because currently there is a set of mines in Sudan filled with cobalt, copper, nickel, zinc, all these other elements and minerals which are to be used for the green initiatives that I believe it's the prime minister of that territory, instead of feeding his people, is allowing their agricultural lands to be laid fallow for mining operations. But please continue. Oh, I want to hear more. Let me see what's going on in the comments for one moment, please. Looking for Fantasyland should be the name of this network. Absolutely misinformation. All right, and yes, for anyone who wants to know about yesterday's brisket was the bomb. Okay, it was gorgeous. It was a gorgeous brisket. So good. Okay, let's see. Steele couldn't cut it as a GOP chair, so he's gone to the dark side. He and Charlie Sykes shower together. That's not pretty, Major. Adams. I didn't need that on a Sunday. Oh my gosh. Okay, hi, Kimmy. You keep lying, we all keep coming after your misinformation, that is. Yes, and that hair flip is on fleek. Yes, that works. All right, hands up, don't jab, right? Right? Okay, everyone should post on MSNBC a clip of them cheating. Oh my word. Thank you. Guys, those unpilled, this message isn't for you. It's for everyone else who's not unpilled right now. If you're not unpilled, would you please make your way on over to Pilled at some point this morning? Because at some point I'm going to be going Pilled exclusive. This is what you're going to see when I go Pilled. When I start going Pilled exclusive, you're going to see this blurb. It's going to say moving to Pilled exclusive soon. Get your butt on over to Pilled, pilled.net/NoPrisonersPodcast. Come on over to Pilled, please, because it is a very good platform. It's got free speech. It's got lovely stickers and a great community and people who are very interesting to engage with. And it's not a fucking echo chamber. It's like we actually fight up in here. We have fights with each other like family members. It's a good thing. We don't sit here and let our minds get all mushed up and shit. We actually challenge each other. So come on over here if you want to challenge each other and have like a family experience. It's a good thing. It's a very good thing. All right, let's listen to this. Are you ready to get more AIDS? Ugh.
A Democratic nominee would never do this because this is straight out of the authoritarian playbook. Donald Trump has done his best to distance himself from Project 2025. This is so in keeping with Project 2025, to watch the polls, to threaten individuals who would secure the vote. I mean, again, all of this is part of it. We are literally in this moment where
we are literally unable to go to Donald Trump's campaign website and actually look at his platform. We have to keep on referring back to this 2025, Project 2025. We have to keep on using that because God forbid we actually tell our audience to go and look at Donald Trump's actual, JD Vance campaign website. and go and look at the platform, because he actually has a page dedicated to his platform, where Kamala Harris and Walz do not have anything dedicated to their platform and like what they're going to bring to the country if they're elected. All right, I'm going to go have a cigarette, so I'll be like right back. I am so sorry if a commercial plays while I'm gone. Please forgive me in advance. But bitch be on my last nerve, so I'm going to go satisfy some addictions. All right, be right back.
In this moment where the frog is being boiled incrementally, we are moving slowly,
Exactly.
incrementally toward an authoritarian regime. This is trademark authoritarianism, watching the polls, promising surveillance, and promising retribution.
So I'm going to see you, Georgia, and raise you, Florida,
Yes.
where we have reporting that the Department of State has sent an email to the supervisor of elections saying that they want to look into supposed fraud in the signing of petitions that would protect Amendment 4, that would protect abortion access in Florida. And you have the supervisor of elections saying, this is highly irregular. This is going to take me like 140 hours to do. And you have Floridians just participating in their democracy who now have police officers showing up at their door. This is not something that is in the future. The playbook is being run right now, and it has a chilling effect.
No, it's intended to have a chilling effect. It's supposed to be a deterrent. This abortion initiative on the ballot in Florida is expected to drive huge voter turnout in the Sunshine State, a state that went overwhelmingly for Trump in the last election, but may be up for grabs now because of the salience of abortion to so many voters. The fact that they're doing this shows how important this question is to the voters and shows that they're scared. Right, so they are trying to deter people who have already signed the petition to put this on the ballot in the first place from actually showing up on Election Day to vote for it. And again, highly irregular, would encourage the Florida ACLU to get on this. This seems like a subject for them. But again, just makes clear they are running scared on these questions, and they're doing everything in their power, and they have considerable power to make sure that this doesn't materialize.
Can I just put up one more former?
What are they talking about? Oh, the police are showing up at your door. Oh, gee, who normalized that? Gee, which side promoted that? Which side went and made it normal for American citizens to have the police show up at their door for having thought crimes? Huh? Who made that possible? Who promoted that shit? And not just in the United States, in Europe as well, and several other westernized territories made that shit normal. Who did that? Don't boohoo and cry now that it's coming after you and shit. It's like, you opened this box, bitch. Your side opened this shit. We didn't want this shit. I don't want this shit. You guys did this. You built that. And then sitting here up in here, all privileged and bullshit. What the fuck is even this? What are you doing, Simone? What the hell is this patent leather nightmare that I see you wearing? I'm sorry, I do not mean to. Simone, what? Oh, Simone. Do not ever have the camera hit you on a profile shot, please, ever again. Simone, oh, sweetie. No. I just can't stop looking. Oh my gosh. Okay, but yeah. Let's get back on topic.
One more former projection by Trump, consistent with this conversation, where he talks about signing pardons day one at a rally in Wisconsin.
If Comrade Kamala Harris gets 4 more years, you will be living a full-blown banana republic ruled by an anarchy and a tyranny. The moment we win, we will rapidly review the cases of every political prisoner unjustly victimized by the Harris regime, and I will sign their pardons on day one. I will sign it on day one. Right? Day one.
Is he talking about the January 6th?
Yes.
It's the people who took up arms against the United States government.
Yes.
A siege that so harrowing. We haven't seen anything like that since the Civil War. Is that what he's
That's what he's talking about.
Where police officers were brutalized?
Yes, and one was
and
killed.
one was killed? Is
Right.
this what he's saying?
Right. And the thing that, number one, can you just sort of drop the comrade crap? All right, it's kind of juvenile. You're grown, you're a 78-year-old man, act like one, number one. Number two.
Oh, we're gonna forget about how y'all name call and everything like that. Okay. All right, you first, motherfucker.
That you just laid out goes.
They called us motherfucking Nazis. They call us Nazis. Go fuck yourself. They call us racists and Nazis. You can go take that request and roll it up into a tube.
Laid out goes part and parcel with everything we're talking about here. That he is lifting up the people who are actually doing the criming and the insurrections, right? And going after
what insurrection?
Everyday Americans who are just trying to exercise their rights to vote.
So, when I come on the show, I'm going to find a way to talk about the Supreme Court. So here it is. The Supreme Court has actually made it possible for him to do this.
Yes.
That immunity decision from July is so
Yeah, they're fucking triggered. They are triggered.
could probably take
I'm just, doing what I do because, I am who I am. These people are fucking triggered.
And the pardon power is explicit in the Constitution. So, he has wide authority in the Supreme Court, his Supreme Court, that he installed with 3 Trump justices to make a conservative 6-3 supermajority has basically blessed this. So the Supreme Court is not coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. Authoritarianism is literally on the doorstep.
You know what, Melissa? This
and it's
speaks
coming
to
from your
why
side.
This election is so important because it is going to be a dogfight between, literally fighting down to the last moment between Vice President Harris and former President Trump. But the House and the Senate matter here because not only is the Supreme Court not coming to save you, if Speaker Johnson is still the speaker come January 6th, he ain't saving y'all either. This Congress matters, and it matters for voting rights. It matters for, we talk a lot about November 5th, but after November 5th, they still have to certify that election.
Yeah. There are going to be litigation challenges. So people just need to be prepared.
Yes.
The election will happen on one day. We will not have a result on that day. You have to be prepared. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Stay lubricated, stay hydrated, all the things. Pack a lunch. It's going to be a while.
Yes.
And there are going to be litigation challenges. You have to do all of that stuff. And it's going to be a long time. It's going to go to the courts. This is a lower federal court, a lower federal judiciary that is absolutely stocked with Trump jurists that were put in place by the Heritage Foundation, the Federal Society, and Donald Trump. There's going to be a long time.
We have a minute left, but you two have been out on the road talking with Black women voters. I love you guys together.
Bestie.
Big sister.
Okay, good. My big cousin. You don't want to be auntie, okay?
I am not an auntie.
I didn't call you auntie. But you could be my big
Well, it was great having you on, Melissa.
Let me just say, Melissa was like this when we were out on the road, people.
We had a great time.
Yes, we took a summer girls trip talking to Black women all over the country, from the cities to the suburbs
and everywhere in between.
Yes, as we like to say.
And did this democracy, the way we're talking about this, did this come up?
100%.
Yeah.
We talked to Black women in Bluebell, Pennsylvania, again, a swing district there in Pennsylvania, a swing state, and they were adamant. They didn't care who the Democratic nominee was. They were voting for that person because they believed democracy and their children's futures were on the line, and they said it over and over and over again.
They brought it up.
They don't care who is on. Vote blue no matter who. Don't get information on policy or anything like that. Just blindly walk up to that voting booth and take a little peek at who is D and write that in and just scribble it up and everything and just walk on out and feel like you did something. The promotion of ignorance. Oh, hell no. No.
over and over again.
They brought it up unprompted, which was shocking to me. They brought up, not just in that conversation, but we talked to some young millennial Black women, and they brought up Project 2025 on their own. I said, look at Project 2025 breaking through. So if you want more of what Melissa and I got into, you should tune in on September 29th, Melissa?
September 29th at 9 p.m. right here on MSNBC. It's going to be...
Yeah, it's because they're not directing them to the actual platform issues. They're directing people to Project 2025. And then when they go and talk, every time they talk about Project 2025, they're not actually showing the document. They're just disparaging Project 2025. Have any of you read Project 2025? I don't agree with every single thing in Project 2025. And at the same time, I agree with a lot of what's in Project 2025. So if that was the platform, I'd be like, but I'd still go for it. Knowing I'd be informed at least of what I'm voting for. I have seen what's on the other side. I have lived what's on the other side. I don't want that. I don't want that for future generations. I don't want that for the kids. I don't want the future generations growing up in what I went through. I don't want that. That's abusive. To want that for anyone is to want someone to be abused. In this conservative, in the MAGA aspects of it, it may not be easy. And everything you do on the MAGA side is your own. It is your own. You own your consequences and everything that goes with it. And no one is there to sneak around behind you and steal from you. It's like if something is going to be taken from you, you at least get an opportunity to fight. It's not some sneaky bullshit. Not like on the progressive lefty side, where they smile at your face while having one of their comrades stab you in the back. Ugh.
It's going to be lit.
Amazing.
Melissa Murray, thank you all.
You refer to her as just
You don't even need to wait until September 29th. You can see much more of Melissa Murray right after the weekend, 10 a.m.
Fabulous.
Eastern.
All right, we're fast forwarding because now I guess we have some drag queens
Donald
coming
Trump
up.
just can't seem to quit saying nice things about dictators.
All right, yeah. Let's move on. All right, because I think we're
today
like 10 minutes behind the live feed.
You know, Michael is fired up, and I'm rightfully so. I'm right there with Mr. Steele, Mr. Chairman today, because what you said about if
Ohio Kimmy, you're right. You're right. Okay, it says I haven't read either agenda yet. I have to check out 47 only. I don't care about 2025. They are a group, not a campaign. Fake bitches. Okay, now I get that. I wanted to inform myself. You know, I believe, and I could be wrong on this, the platform items on Trump's campaign page are what are the alignment to Project, is it called Project 47? Or whatever that 47 is? I think that those are the bullet points contained within. Everyone go do your own research, and I will be re-verifying myself to make sure that what indeed is on the Trump fans campaign site is actually the alignment to 47. So we will see. But yes, always do your own research on these things. Good morning, Nuclear Family of Four. Good morning. All right, let's hear what Simone has to say.
If Kamala Harris, if Vice President Harris had said what Donald Trump said, or any Democrat had tweeted or posted what he did, we'd be talking about it. It would be everywhere. I absolutely agree, and I do take Melissa's point. Like, this is authoritarianism, and Democrats are not. That is not something that they have been flirting with, unlike the Republican Party apparatus, and they are now in a full-blown courtship with authoritarianism right now. But
Simone, are you freaking serious? You guys have been in full-blown authoritarian mode for the past 4 years. And even before that, it's just that you have not had the opportunity to enact it to the levels of which you have enacted it. Oh, child. Oh, I do not know what your judgment day is going to look like. I can imagine what mine's going to look like, but I have a feeling I'm going to get off a little bit lighter than you. Oh, my word. Oh, my word.
Right now. But Donald Trump is not, let's just say it, he is not being covered in the same way that Vice President Harris is. I believe that the Vice President should be covered rigorously. Like, yes, ask questions, push back. There is criticism, but there are also great things and good things that she's doing, and those deserve fair coverage. I'm not saying don't cover her as much. What I am saying is, can Donald Trump get a fraction of what the people are attempting to give to the vice president? Like, I have Google alerts on both of them, and the kind of coverage that I see coming through for the vice president, frankly, mirrors what it has been since she has been in public office on the world stage, right? Ever since the first day that she joined the ticket, all of these stories. Donald Trump is not being covered the same, and it is a dereliction of duty. The media apparatus writ large, we are failing if we do not give a rigorous look at Donald Trump. And when he is wrong, say he's wrong. When he is lying, say he's lying. And do not try to sanitize what he's doing. Joe Biden took us.
When have you been sanitizing anything? What are you talking about, Simone? Do you think your audience doesn't hear? Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to put myself in the leftist headspace again. I'd be going, yeah, Simone, say it, Simone. I wouldn't even be critically thinking. I wouldn't even be thinking about yesterday or the day before. I would only be in the now. That's why they always say live in the moment. That's what that therapy was for. I get it now. It was all about always living in the present. That's what they were telling me. And it worked. I wasn't able to consider the past. I only was living in the moment. That was my prison. My prison was the inability to critically think and to retrieve and access history. I remember now. These people are under a spell. They're casting a spell. This is what this is. This is spell casting.
Joe Biden took a sip of water of his Gatorade at Juneteenth, and the people are on the internet like, the president doesn't seem well. Joe Biden is fine. He has a stressful job, and obviously he's been at the beach. He's looking good. Donald Trump seems unwell, and that is a very fair factual statement.
Well, and it's obvious on so many levels. But the thing about it that strikes me, and it's going to be manifest on Tuesday, in how even in the run up to this debate, the expectation is somehow she's got to perform better. She's got to prove something. No, the guy who's talking cray-cray has to prove something. He's got to come to the table a little bit better, a little bit more correct. Because
what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Toby? Sitting up here saying that she doesn't need to do. She's going for the presidency of the United States, the position of commander-in-chief. Oh no, she needs to prove a hell of a lot. She needs to prove that she's competent for the job. And she has not. She has not earned my vote. And that's not bias or anything like that. Her merits are non-existent to place her into the position of which you want her to fall into, my dear sir. Oh, my word. Go on.
A little bit better, a little bit more correct. Because this is going to be a different debate for him than he had with Joe Biden and that he had with Hillary Clinton. Because a whole lot of stuff has happened to that man since those last debates. And now that's part of the conversation, but somehow that's not part of the coverage. And the reality of it is the expectation.
Well, which news outlet are you watching, sir? When you're saying that that's not part of the coverage, you're sitting right in the middle of MSNBC. You're sitting right there. If you want to cover it, Do it right now. You're in front of the camera. Do it. Do it. Oh, but what is this? Oh, but you can't because you're a script reader. You're not a real reporter. You're not a real journalist. You're a puppet for a propaganda machine spewing this out. And I remember it's like I knew this already about myself. I knew this about my past, but it just crystallized as I'm sitting here on a Sunday in September of 2024. It just crystallized the way that the spell is put together and the way it works and what is relied upon to make the spell work. And it's the amnesia. Every day, waking up and getting my head filled with bullshit and being okay with it because I was probably on prescriptions that they were giving me, like prescription drugs, and being told to go party because I was gay. And that's what gays do. Go have a whole bunch of sex, go have a whole bunch of drugs, go have a whole bunch of drinking. And it was promoted and publicized, and lose your morality and fall deeper into the pit of iniquity and revel in it. And anyone who had moral fiber or anything like that, they're your enemy. That person, they wanna kill your vibe and everything like that. No, they're trying to save your soul. Demons.
The reality of it is the expectation for Kamala Harris, with whom I have big policy. Okay, let's have that conversation. But there's a whole lot of other pretty nasty stuff on the floor left by Donald Trump that a lot of members in the media are just walking over, and they're not saying anything about it. The expectation, I was having this conversation with a couple of reporters who work on small venues, and they were like, yeah, they just can't level it up because it's.
And what I just said right there, that admission right there, and that's what they want kids to do. I mean, just to put it out there, put it quite bluntly, while this asshole is like talking about, the meat left on the floor from the Trump thing that the media is not picking up, which is like, well, then you have the opportunity, pick it up right now and talk about it, but you're not. Is that they want the kids. It just gets uglier and uglier. And it doesn't kill my soul. It doesn't make me want to like get up and stop doing any of this. It lights a fire under me to do it, even not to increase my criticism as much or anything like that. Not that it makes me want to like lose my mind and act over dramatically. I feel that the way I am reacting to this is rooted in my disgust, and I am appalled to have been part of this. That I mean, shit. It is, if what you're watching here is you're watching an individual who was groomed into this and eventually got out of it. And I'm having I need to take it to Jesus is what I need to do. It's a weight on my soul, which I know I can take to Jesus. I can unload that at the cross. I know that. My mortal mind is retaining the memory of the sin, and the logical part of my brain is measuring it. And my spirit is taking it to the cross. That doesn't mean that the memory goes with it. I still have the memory, and that's what is happening here. And listening to these people, prayer is powerful. Prayer. Ohio Kimmy, thank you very, very much for the cookie. Let's continue with this AIDS. Oh my gosh.
Can't level it up because it's not entertaining enough, that you don't get enough clicks from it. I'm like, folks, this is about our country. This is not about being entertained.
I also think it's a misunderstanding.
There was nothing entertaining about watching you guys experiment on children medically. There was nothing entertaining about you guys going and promoting an open border where we lost over 250,000 children and they're being trafficked for either slave labor or sex trafficking, or just the idea that they are no longer with their parents. There is nothing entertaining about that on those two factors alone, sir. And there are several more factors. And you are reductive. You are reducing this to the pablum of your trade. And that is what I find most distasteful. Who are you? Who even are you?
Misunderstanding about the fact that, yes, this is a pattern of behavior. It's still new, right? There's still, the language is increasingly incendiary. The language is increasingly unraveled. Like that shot you played.
And violent.
Yeah, but to someone's point, also, it doesn't make sense. It's like a grab bag of words that don't actually often add up to a sentence. And so both in terms of the danger, the real danger of what he is saying, but also I think you're driving at his mental acuity.
If he says a bunch of words that don't add up to a sentence, then he doesn't have a message, yet it's a danger. Make that make sense. If no one can understand what he's saying, how is it dangerous, ma'am?
At his mental acuity. Both things, there may be a past pattern of it, but we now are entering a new phase.
The man can't string together a complete sentence. Go
Yet
back
it's
and
dangerous.
pull the videotape media and show me where Donald Trump started with a noun, a preposition, a verb, put together a whole sentence that made sense. And he hasn't done it. He starts off talking about sharks and ends up talking about refrigerators and starts talking about electric cars. He's all over the place, and everyone is sitting there going, oh, that's just Donald Trump.
You know,
Maybe it's not that, sir. Maybe you have a deficit when it comes to paying attention. Maybe you have an internalized bias. Maybe you're unable to comprehend. Blacks can't even use computers, sir. Don't you realize that you are a Toby on the plantation? Sir, you don't have an education. Remember, you're disadvantaged. Remember, you're a marginalized, victimized group. You don't have the intellect. I'm just using your own words. I'm just using your own playbook. It's like with your blackety black skin, it's like you don't have the cerebral processes available like the rest of us do. That's coming from your own side. So it's no wonder you can't understand what a white man is saying because you're a black man. I'm just saying it's coming from your own side. That's what you guys promote. So there you go. That's your answer. You are, by your own side's admission, inferior. That's why you don't understand. That's not coming from me. I'm just regurgitating your talking points. And those of the politicians of whom you protect, like the good little lapdog you are. Because that's exactly who you are. You protect your massa. Wake the fuck up, sir. Wake the fuck up.
That's just Donald Trump.
You know, for all of the attention on President Biden and his quote unquote mental acuity and is he up for the job, there has been, and I think a test, frankly, that he's currently the president and executing those duties quite well. I think there's been a lack of scrutiny on the same for Donald Trump, who is yet 3 years younger than the president. When the president was a senior, Donald Trump was a freshman.
There you go.
Next, folks, we're going to talk about Trump. He's keeping up his interesting habit of only saying nice things about very bad people. The man who literally wrote the book on fascism joins us next to discuss. This is The Weekend.
He literally wrote the book on fascism. Okay, we're going to fast forward to the commercials and get back up over here. All right, let's see. I'm cueing it.
Precise designs.
It'll be coming in
Subtle
just
curves.
a moment. Okay, there we go.
In crisis survives.
Oh.
Show them they're not alone. Please call.
All right, let's see.
I say very smart. He controls 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. He's smart.
Donald Trump expressing admiration for Chinese President Xi Jinping as he addressed his economic plan for the country on Thursday. This comes after the ex-president called autocratic Hungarian leader Viktor Orban a strong man, adding, quote, "Sometimes you need a strong man." Joining us now to discuss, Jason Stanley. He's a professor of philosophy at Yale University and author.
They're not going to talk about how Biden and Zelensky, they're not talking about like what Zelensky's doing over there in the Ukraine, are they? And how that's like linked up with Biden. They're not going to talk about the other leaders of whom Biden gets along with very well. Like, oh, I don't know, Trudeau, Macron, and like what they've allowed to happen in their areas. They're not going to mention any of that because that goes with their agenda, but they're not going to mention how it's actually causing the people in those areas to suffer quite greatly. What would I rather have? Let's see, a dictator in a distant land who's not invading our country, or I don't know, some dictators in distant lands who are facilitating an invasion of multiple countries. Gee, which one? Putin or Macron? I think I'll go with Putin. Putin or Zelensky? I think I'll go with Putin. Putin or Trudeau? I think I'll go with Putin. I mean, when you do a comparison at that, it's like Putin is trying to prevent his country from being invaded, and he's also like running his country. Yeah, it does take a certain amount of ability to have that kind of control over that many people. Yeah. Is it something that's right? No, it's not right. It's not right. However, is it something that's rather, I mean, is it a quality that one could say, hey, I kind of respect that? It's like, I don't like it, but is it something that one could respect? Maybe Macron letting his people being like killed by invaders. Same thing as in England, letting all these invaders run roughshod all over their citizenry. Germany, and then what is going on in Canada right now? What is going on with the Chinese relationship with Canada? Why are we still doing business with the Chinese Communist Party when they have all this other stuff going on with slave labor and all this other oppression? And why aren't we addressing what's going on in the United States of America? No, let's just focus on Trump, who actually wants to address what's going on in the United States of America and clean this shit up along with we the people, because it's not all about Trump doing the work. We need to do the work too. At the current time, when you want to go out and do the work, the DOJ is given instructions to come out and arrest your ass. But please continue.
And author of the new book, Erasing History, How Fascists Rewrite the Past to Control the Future.
Ooh.
Well,
we all just pre-ordered this book.
We did.
On set. We were like, wait, do you have the books with you, Jason? Let's order them right now. I mean, Michael.
No, it's such an important conversation because in many respects, Jason, the country finds itself at a crossroad that I don't know if they fully appreciate. We're caught in this space, it seems to me, where we're so far removed from World War II and the fascism of Nazism and all of that, that generationally speaking, it's a little bit cloudy. Talk to us about where you wanted to go with this book and why in this moment it is important, using what we just heard here from Donald Trump, having a former president of the United States lean into this the way he has and leveling it up in such a way that it's being consumed by a lot of Americans.
That's right. So my book is about education. And as Vladimir Putin recently said, wars are won by teachers. We have to look at the fact that when you have attacks on voting rights, when you have attacks on voting, they happen at the same time as attacks on schools. So when we have, so the attacks on critical race theory, for instance, the Heritage Foundation director in 2021 said our two main activities are attacks are critical race theory and restricting voting. So that's because when you attack schools, you attack them by removing the idea that democratic citizens have agency. You just teach like great men have done all the work of changing history. Social movements haven't changed anything. You erase the history of social movements, you erase Black history. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this structure of changing changing the education system so people don't recognize that American citizens in social movements have moved the chains for democracy.
We have an excerpt from your book, and I want to read from it because this, I think, encapsulates the point. This is where the first one, and your book is out on Tuesday. It says, democracy requires a common understanding of reality, a shared view of what has happened that informs ordinary citizens' decisions about what should happen now and in the future. Authoritarians target this shared understanding, seeking to separate us from our own history to destroy our self-understanding and leave us unmoored, resentful, and confused. I appreciate this description so much because oftentimes we use the term fascism, authoritarianism, autocracy, and I'm of the belief that most American people don't actually grasp what we are talking about when we say that. Not because they're not smart, but I think when you put a nice word on something to button it up, sometimes it sanitizes what we really mean under it. Yes, and this paints the picture so clear, and it's chilling to read it because this is what we're living through right now.
Well,
Are you? Is that what you're living through right now? Isn't that what you wanted? When you're calling people fascists and Nazis and all that, isn't that exactly what you wanted? And you have the opportunity right now to delve into what you're talking about. That's the thing that gets me the most, is you bring up a topic and then you provide no substance. You just move right on to the next topic, the next talking point. You're an outlet, you're a media outlet, and you're talking about what people should be thinking about. How about leaving it up to the person digesting your media? How about leaving it up to the individual what they should be thinking about? How about stop telling people what to think and just tell them what's going on?
Right now.
Well, Langston Hughes said in the 1930s, Black Americans don't need to be told about fascism. It's just another word for Jim Crow.
Well,
and when you look down at the South right now, what we're seeing is those structures return. We're seeing attacks on voting, attacks on minority voting populations. When Donald Trump says that, cities, the corrupt cities, and he goes through cities with Black
Philadelphia,
Atlanta, Detroit. So that's reminiscent of the propaganda that was taught that ended Reconstruction. The idea that Black voters, Black politicians were corrupt. And that was taught in schools, that's why Black Americans weren't ready for democracy. That was taught in schools. So this all goes together. This idea, you cease teaching the history of the end of Reconstruction, you eliminate Black history, and then you eliminate the history of the struggle for voting rights.
What is the antidote?
The antidote is to reclaim history. A democracy is a system where we all know who has been denied equality and why. And democracy has two values, equality and freedom. And the whole point of a democracy is realizing those values. If you don't know your past, if you don't know who has been denied equality and why, then you can't do anything to realize the value of equality.
You mean like censoring? You mean like not letting people see Song of the South anymore, that old Disney film? You mean like reimagining The Little Mermaid, Seven Dwarfs, all the stories that children are told? You mean that kind of thing? You mean that kind of erasure? You mean going and banning that which you do not find conducive to your narrative? Do you mean that, sir? Is that your version of democracy? I think we call that something else. I don't think you know what exactly it is. I mean, I think you know what you're trying to convey, but you're using an incorrect phraseology on this. Also, we're a constitutional republic. We're not a mob rule country. So I can appreciate what you're saying. I'm not subscribing to it. And you're being intellectually dishonest. So please continue with your spew.
equality. You're left, if you don't teach Black history, if you don't teach the history of LGBT suppression, then if you eliminate the perspectives of LGBT people, if you classify Toni Morrison as...
Dude, I'm sitting right here with a perspective that, according to your definition, falls into what you're talking about. And people can either listen or they can leave. I mean, it's like no one's forcing anyone to sit here and listen to me talk from my perspective. What you're doing, though, is you are minimizing the experiences of your LGBTQ. So congratulations on your white knighting, you Kmart cowboy.
As obscenity and pornography, then people won't understand what's going on. They won't understand that some Americans are LGBT and how complicated that is. They won't understand why there are Black
It's
movements
not that
for
complicated.
social equality. They'll just think they're riots. So
that's an interesting point, because a lot of the success comes as born out of isolation. When you have communities that are isolated, even to this day, when I meet some people and they say, there are very few African Americans who live in my community. There are very few members of the Hispanic community who live in my community. This form of isolation is another way in which authoritarianism, especially in an educational framing, can perpetuate these narratives that further isolate us from this ideal of democracy.
Authoritarianism requires fear, pervasive fear, and failure to understand. You want to leave people.
Oh, you mean like not informing people about shots that they're putting into their bodies and then using fear to coerce them to comply? Because if they don't comply, they'll be left out of society. And wasn't it like part of the media that was promoting that if you don't comply with certain medical experimentation, you would be denied goods and services, and in particular medical services? You mean that kind of fear, sir?
You want to leave people confused if you're an authoritarian, so they look to someone to make the decisions for them. And you want to make them feel fear of each other. And so when you ban the perspectives of other citizens, you're making them not understand the path they took, that your fellow citizens.
You mean like how you guys did that?
And so that means that they're going to be fearful of each other. And when they're fearful of each other, they're going to feel like they need to be protected. And that's why, so we have this talk in the United States, like take Moms for Liberty. What does the liberty in Moms for Liberty mean? Parents should choose what the curriculum is. Which parents? If you're the child of
the parents of the individual child.
Other kids of heterosexual couples to know what about your parents' relationships. You don't want that erased, that perspective erased. If you're from a Black family.
My parents were heterosexual. My parents never told me about like what they were doing behind closed doors. That was none of my damn business. Sir, what are you telling your kids? Do you have kids? I think we might need to make a call to Back to the Future to the old time CPS, because I have a feeling that if you have kids, I think you're sharing too much with your kids, quite frankly.
Black family, you want people to understand that. Moms for Liberty means liberty for white heterosexual parents. And tyranny of the majority is not democracy, it's tyranny.
All right. Woo. That's one way to wake up this morning.
This is why we ordered the book.
This is why we ordered the book. Guess what, ass? Most parents are heterosexual. That's how they became parents. Gee, funny how that works. Oh my word. All right, so I'm gonna announce right now, people who are not on Pilled. So if you are out there on DLive, if you're out there on YouTube, if you're out there on X, if you're out there on Telegram, if you're out there on wherever you are other than Pilled right now, in about 60 seconds, I'm just going to cut the stream. So please come on over to Pilled. It's a great platform. It's a great community. Come on over. Free speech reigns over here. And I just cannot sing the praises of Pilled loudly enough. All right. So make your way on over to Pilled. You see it right down there, pilled.net/NoPrisoners Podcast. You don't have to come on over to No Prisoners Podcast if you don't want to. I prefer that you do. However, I'm not an authoritarian fascist after all. So whatever you do from this point forward, God bless you. Have a great Sunday. And check us out. Just check us out. All right. So we're going to continue on with whatever this Yahoo shit is. And we're going to go exclusive on Pilled soon.
Ordered the book.
This is why we ordered the book. Jason Stanley, thank you so much. Really appreciate the conversation. His new book is Erasing History, How Fascists Rewrite the Past to Control the Future. It comes out on Tuesday. We've, like we said, already pre-ordered here at the desk, so get busy, folks. Ahead, the inside story of the wild scheme that led to Donald Trump's first impeachment, all centered around someone whose name you might remember, Lev Parnas. You're watching